We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
We recognize different ages for different purposes. We recognize 18 for the draft. We recognize 16 for driving in some states. We recognize 21 for drinking. So we recognize different ages for different purposes. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Could I have a second to engage that?
Certainly. I'll yield to the gentleman from Kentucky.
Would the chairman join me in co-sponsoring a bill to raise the draft age to 21?
No.
But the chairman feels that their brains aren't fully formed at 18, 19, and 20.
The research does indicate that in certain respects, but the Selective Service needs, I mean, if the country needs people, it needs people.
It needs people.
I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Welcome back to another night at Late. Stick with Koolfrogg, because things happen. Some of you that caught me early in chat, whatever, we decided to. My wife decided to cook some eggs, and instead of actually just boiling them, she decided to get distracted and she made popped eggs, which totally made a mess all over the place. So I was helping her clean that up real quick. We should be okay. I don't know where AmericaShirts is. He's just running late like a normal shirt. So you chant him out a couple times, he might actually show up in time. Until he does show up, let's invite in Mr. Voice. How's it going, my man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. What about it? Didn't I?
So, real quick, let's say hi to people in chat. Hello, JMK. Hello, Ash Schneider. Divinity, how's it going? Let's see, who else we got with it? Ishcade's with us. Heck yeah. And they're all laughing at my popped eggs. It's all good stuff. It's so fun. Let's see. So JMK, Zach, welcome. Everybody, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Hello, Texas Gene. Hello, they call me Rose. Yeah, heck yeah. I got some fun people coming up in here. Gregory Dugan. M. Swartz, welcome. This is going to be a fun night because all we're talking about, inflation. Inflation bill that they decided to pass early this morning. I was actually watching them. Why? Because I'm ridiculous. Hello, little galaxy. Why do I watch things so strangely in the middle of the morning? Well, because they decided to actually hold it the time that they did, so that they assumed that a lot of people wouldn't be watching and paying attention to them. Hello, Max Morrow. Nice to have you in here. Everybody make sure that you hit that like button for me. Memento Mori. Nice, nice. It passed the Senate. It passed the Senate, so now it has to move on to the House. I'm assuming they passed it when at the timely manner that they did, so that way it would hit the House as soon as come Monday, I believe. Let me check with see what Congress.gov actually tells me when the next actual will actually be. And it looks like the next meeting in the House doesn't happen until the 9th around 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time. I guess it could be interesting, they gave themselves until Tuesday. So Tuesday we're going to have some more news about it. I'm sure everybody's going to have something to say about this inflation bill that is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. I really don't understand why they feel the need to pass another $740 billion worth of tax, climate, and healthcare bills on top of, they're just ridiculous. It's so saddening right now that they just keep on spending our money, because we all know where that money comes from. It comes from us. It comes from us. We're the ones that pay for it. We pay for everything. I don't know where AmericaShirts is. Come on, people, chant them in here. Let's go, AmericaShirts. 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 You joining me, Mr. Voice? You okay? We don't hear his voice. It says his microphone's on. I don't. He must have walked away for a second. Either way.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Now we can. There you are.
Okay. Yeah, got you. Yeah, I stepped away for just a moment. Please forgive me.
No,
Good
you're
evening,
fine.
everyone.
I was just going to say hello to everyone. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
So,
Forever. Debbie. JMK. Max.
Right? Max is in here. Memento Mori's in here. They call me Rose. There's new people that have not subscribed to us before. Please do. Please subscribe, like, share, do all those fun things that you do on YouTube. Hello, Short Order Cook. Welcome. Look at that, Texas Jen. We got some new people that are coming around. It's very fun to see, and it's exciting. It's exciting.
The Schwartz.
Hit that like button for me. We're gonna get going here.
What's going on,
here.
Em?
Senate Democrats passed $740 billion tax, climate, and health care bill.
Texas Jen.
Senate Democrats on Sunday passed their sweeping $740 billion tax, climate, and health care reconciliation pact before all-night session, with Vice President Kamala Harris casting the tie-breaking vote. The 51-50 passage of the bill, just 3 months before the midterm election, is a massive victory for Democrats who have spent 18 months working toward delivering on their long-standing dreams of helping address climate change, lower the cost of prescription drugs, and hike taxes at large corporations. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 is far less ambitious than most Democrats wanted. The initial bill was roughly $3.5 trillion and also adjusts the paid family leave, funding for universal preschool, and expanding the child tax credit. But the narrow version of the bill succeeded in getting the support of the Senate. Two centrist members, they're Democrats. Stop it. They're not centrists. They don't get to call themselves centrists when they actually put a D on front of their shit. That's not how that fucking works. They can screw off. Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin? No, that's not it. They're not centrists. They don't get to call themselves something that they're not. The package now moves the House, where members will vote on early as Friday in advancing the bill to President Biden's desk. See?
Yeah.
Now moves to the House. Like I said, that next House meeting doesn't happen until Tuesday. So Tuesday, when they actually, reconvene for a regular session, this is what's going to be on that docket. There's probably be one of the first things. It may end up being towards the end of the day. We don't know when they're going to actually do it. Yeah. Hello, Red Hoodwinked. Exactly. Fuck them. This is so stupid. Senate Republicans offer
how many books they write.
Yeah, right. And what this actually breaks down, there's no way that this covers all of the things that are in that bill. That bill has to be a lot thicker than what they're actually letting on. The Senate Republicans offered dozens of amendments aimed at minimizing the bill, including stripping out funding for the IRS and eliminating COOF-related school mandates. It's held firm in the unity with the help of Harris of preserving the core elements of the package and voting down each GOP amendment. One major setback, however, was the ruling by the Senate parliamentarian that determined Democrats' proposal to place a $35 cap on a commercial insulin violated the Byrd Rule, which governs the provisions for what can be accepted in budget reconciliation legislation.
But concerning that legislation, it's a $600 fucking administration towards it. Oh my God. people don't really understand what's coming through that bill. You'll find out soon enough. Continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Eliminating the package. So it says 7 GOP senators: Bill Cassidy, Susan Collins, Josh Hawley, Cindy Hyde-Smith, John Kennedy, Lisa Murkowski, and Dan Sullivan. Says voted with Democrats, but so there's several things that had happened within the last few days. So the bill included a $370 billion in climate change, allows for federal health security negotiating the prices of certain expensive drugs for Medicare, and those certain expensive drugs, we all know that that it's the insulin that they actually go after, because that's something that everybody, there are a majority of people kind of sort of need for whatever reason, because we won't talk about the 40s and 50s when they actually told us that sugar was a dietary supplement, and they actually introduced so much sugar into our systems that it causes these things to actually occur. 15% minimum tax on corporations making $1 billion or more in income. The provision offers another more than $300 billion in revenue. IRS tax enforcement. So if you haven't paid your taxes, you haven't filed your taxes in the last few years, they may come after you.
There's 200 pages. From my understanding, there's 200 pages on that one part, the IRS tax enforcement.
Right. Hey man, how's it going? Everybody say hello to the tadpole. Tadpole slept too long today, and he'll probably be up with me for the majority of the show.
1% excise tax on stock buybacks.
Right.
The significance of the climate portion. Oh, I can't
the
wait
significance
to find out myself.
of the climate portion. The bill is the largest investment in clean energy and emission cuts the Senate has ever passed, with the climate portion totaling about $370 billion. This is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's the most idiotic thing that I've ever seen them actually push through the Senate. If the House does this and actually allows this to occur, we're so screwed. If you didn't feel you were screwed already, you might as well take your pants down all the way.
Well, they did say they tried to make notable mention that Bernie Sanders actually had a lot to say about it, but the son
do
of
have
a
an
bitch
article on
actually
him
voted
actually
on
saying
that. and then he turned around and voted on it.
Right. After he said no, he turned around and still voted on it. So it's like, oh, okay, good job, moron.
Claiming that he opposed it and how much flack he gave them about it, and then voted on it. Yes, moving along.
Right. No, you're fine. This includes tax incentives to manufacture and purchase electric vehicles, generate more wind and solar electricity, and support fledgling technologies such as direct air capture and hydrogen production. I didn't get a chance to actually look up what the direct air capture would actually be. I'm assuming that it has something similar to do with how wind turbines actually work. It would actually do an air capture, and it would actually generate electricity. Is still every single time that you look at a wind turbine that's sitting there, never does that wind turbine produce enough power to do anything. That's why you see fields of them. And that's why you see no birds in the area, because, they've all been taken out. So
we'll also get to talk about exactly how long they last and when they'll need replacing and what that budget will actually look like also.
And then where they go and actually get stuck, don't break down, and what natural resources are actually used to actually build such a thing. The whole thing is a bunch of crap. It's just a bunch of horse shit is basically what it comes down to. So independent analysis shows the bill combined with other ongoing emissions reductions would cut as much as 40% of the U.S. greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. short of the White House's 50% reduction target. However, if enacted into law, it would reestablish U.S.'s credibility in international climate talks, which had been flagging due to part in congressional gridlock. The House needs to really step up. They need to step up, and they need to shut this down immediately when they see this bill. If they haven't read it already, I hope to God that somebody actually reads it thoroughly, gets their staff to read it thoroughly, and explain to them what is actually in this. What else is in there? There's something else that's buried that they're not telling us is in there. There's no way that this is the 200 pages. As part of the Democrats' concessions to Manchin, the bill also contains provisions calling for offshore oil lease sales in the Gulf of Mexico and off the coast of Alaska, and a commitment to take up a separate measure to ease the permitting of new energy projects. What they're saying, this is from Chuck Schumer. Today, after more than a year of hard work, the Senate is making history. I'm confident the Inflation Reduction Act will endure as one of the defining legislative feats of the 21st century.
In other words, just as a clarification on that, what Chuck just said was what would actually be sold from our oil production reserves, and any fresh new oil productions would also be recalculated through the new green energy package, which won't cover a damn thing.
Vinny just said, who is that with him? That's Mr. Voice. She says, oh, FFS. She's be right back, have to boil eggs.
Don't burn the water.
Make sure you pay
please.
attention to them. Don't walk away and come back here and be sitting there for 20 minutes thinking that you're going to be okay. Our bill reduces inflation, lowers costs, creates millions of good paying jobs, and is the boldest climate package in U.S. history. This bill will kickstart the era of affordable clean energy in America. It's a game changer, a turning point, and it's been a long time in coming.
Listen, people.
Stupid.
Listen, people. Eggs' lives matter too. President Biden praised the passage of the bill in a statement Sunday, saying today's Senate Democrats side with American families over special interests, voting to lower the cost of prescription drugs, health insurance, and everyday energy costs, and reduce. Need you to scroll.
Oh, we missed this middle one from Mitch McConnell. Reduce the deficit while making the wealthiest corporations finally pay for their fair share. I ran for president promising to make government work for working families again. And that is what this bill does. Period.
I was skipping Bernie. I was actually skipping Mitch's statement. Absolutely. No.
We'll go back and we'll catch it real quick after we, so this is President Biden praising the passage of the bill through the Senate. He really seriously thinks it's the one of the best things to happen. I really seriously want to know who the hell is pulling this old piece of crap strings and making him actually go out and say this crap, because there's nothing in here that's actually any good for anything. Right here, look at reduce the deficit. Reduce the deficit by adding how many $750 billion to it. That's not how you reduce your deficit. You don't spend more money to reduce your deficit. This thing I've ever heard in my whole life. If somebody thinks that that's true, go ahead. Tell me how that works. Why is
Oh my God, it's terrible. I mean, I can only agree with Milton Freeman when he said that the government prints money and they create the money. So they're the ones responsible for creating the inflation. Consumers do not create inflation. Producers do not create inflation. That's not the way this works.
Nope, not at all.
Democrats have already robbed American families once. The man says once through inflation. And now their solution is to rob American families a second time, said Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell.
Right.
What a fucking ass wipe, because that's an inaccurate statement.
Bitch McConnell goes and says something stupid once more.
Amen.
Because you know damn well that, you know, regardless to it being a 50-50, you know, split in the Senate, that there's no way the Republicans are going to be able to actually stop anything from going through the Senate. Ever. Not at a 50-50 split. Let's hope to God come November something happens, and hope to God that this bill does not pass the House. This bill passes the House, like I said, you just pull down your pants the rest of the way, because that's pretty much they've bared it and they said share it.
I promise that don't come with KY, people. Nope. I promise.
I seen somebody say something about they should add a whole bunch of lube and whatever else to it so we can all be, you know.
Oh fuck no! Safer. Oh no, baby, that's raw. That is straight raw. Right, I mean, that's not even a colonoscopy with the glove on. Nothing. That's straight fisting. You motherfucker.
Let's just
read on.
I had to throw up a banner, impeach the potato. So that was the rest of that article. Like I said, there's no way this is exactly what this bill covers. This bill has to cover a heck of a lot more for that ticket. There's no way.
It's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
right.
Deep.
There's 200 pages of crap to go. Look at it. 740 billion. There's billion.
Yeah, there's 200 pages alone in the IRS enforcement plan. Because
no, exactly, Memento Mori. If the Republicans win the midterms, they won't reverse any of this. They never fix the damage. Nope, they won't. They won't, because it'll be like, oh, it's already spent. Oh well. And you know dang well, some of them have money in that they're getting out of this.
Of course, she made the BlackRock company too big to fail, which they already were. They just got their hands big time in the clutches of Australia. They don't even see what's coming to them in August. Just wait.
It says 30 people are watching. I got 24 likes. Can I get the whole 30? That'd be awesome if we can. Let's see here. This article is a little bit older, but it's just the headline that we really need off of it anyway, just so you actually understand where things are going. 230 economists warn Manchin's spending bill will perpetuate inflation. It's exactly what it's going to do. When you spend that much money, like I said, there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing that you can actually do to actually say that it's going to actually save anything. What's up, Raleigh? How's it going, brother?
I mean, as a conservative now, I'm a grown ass man that saved money all year long so that I could spend on my kids' Christmas time. And I ended up always this was years ago, people, when my kids were small, but I also ended up spending on my credit card. To a person that saves all year long, you can't get ahead or pay off anything by spending it first.
So now if you caught that, it said $740 billion tax, climate, and healthcare bill. That was that one. And that's why I say every time you spend another dollar thing. So that was one. You check this one out. This one I Senate passes $700 billion Inflation Reduction Bill. Look at how excited he is. He's like, heck yeah, we did it.
We did it. Look at him. Look at him. Arms up. All he needs to do is just be whole. I mean, we're looking. That's a beta cook right there.
Let's do this. Let's see if I have stuff set up. We'll just listen to this. Whenever AmericaShirts decides to bring his butt in here.
I don't know which one's pegging which one, but one of them's pegging the other. Either Mitch McConnell or Chuck Schumer. One's pegging the other. I promise. Something's going on there. Joe Manchin. I don't know when Joe Manchin was opposed to this, like last year, 2 years ago. He was opposed to a lot of this shit, and suddenly, this man reaps the benefits of this shit. If anybody knew the amount of money they're fixing to throw at Virginia to get this guy on board.
Space Power Monkey broke back Senate. That's pretty much it.
My God.
Pretty much it.
I brought it in yesterday morning, but I didn't want to jinx it and wear it. But I wear it on good luck days, and I had a feeling I'd be wearing it.
I can't wait to hear from Shirts.
Thank you. All right.
I'm sure he's got plenty to say.
As you know, it's been a long, tough.
What's up, Law Patrol?
I see you. We've arrived, and we are elated. Every member of my caucus is elated.
They've been heading. They've been heading. They just needed to sign the deal.
In a way that you rarely get an opportunity to do that. With the Inflation Reduction Act, this Senate Democratic majority has achieved what countless others have come to Washington promising to do, but ultimately failed to deliver. And I am really confident that the Inflation Reduction Act will endure as one of the defining feats of the 21st century. And we did it without a single vote to spare. To do something with 50 votes is rough. To do small things with 50 votes is rough.
Barton Bella says, I hate Schumer as much as Pelosi.
Major piece of legislation with only 50
They're both
votes,
rotten eggs.
Intransigent Republican minority, a caucus running from Bernie Sanders to Joe Manchin. Wow. And I give such credit to my caucus. They are amazing. They pulled together throughout these last few days. Every senator I said, please don't offer this amendment. Don't vote on this.
Snicker about it, you ass.
Pull apart the bill, even though you might need it. Just about every single person cooperated. And it's amazing. I'm just so, and you could see how happy everybody was if you were in the gallery when the bill passed. Our bill reduces inflation, lowers costs, creates millions of manufacturing jobs.
I'm with you on that one, M. Swartz. It's hard to look at this idiot with his devil grin.
Climate package in U.S.
Space Power Monkey Inflation Reduction Act.
The most significant
okay.
To fight the climate crisis ever, and it's going to make a difference to my grandkids. The world.
Yeah, your grandkids only.
Children, because of what we did today, and that makes me feel very, very good. Very, very good.
Nobody else's grandkids, just yours.
You're sort of like the
with your deep ass pockets.
And the passage of the Clean Air Act half a century ago. The legislation marks a turning point in our nation's commitment to protect our planet. And the Senate has finally also taken on Big Pharma and will, after decades of trying, be able to negotiate lower prescription drug prices. The Inflation Reduction Act is going to lower prescription drug costs for seniors. And that's been ever since I got here in the Senate in 1999, we've been trying to do this. And finally, we have in a major way. And don't forget, we capped the price of insulin for seniors on Medicare at $35 a month. This was added to the bill yesterday, and it's a big, big win for millions of seniors. According to CMS, 1 in every 3 Medicare beneficiaries has diabetes. 3.3 million Medicare beneficiaries use one or more of the common forms of insulin. In 2017, Republicans passed legislation that added $2 trillion to the deficit. using reconciliation. This Senate, the Democratic-led Senate, has passed a bill that does all of the above and still reduces the
It's a
deficit by
50-50,
hundreds of billions of dollars.
but yep, Democrat
Joe
led.
Manchin was alert to this problem early.
What's up, Shirts?
And left his real
Yo.
imprint on this bill with deficit reduction, which I think all of my caucus happily followed. And I just want to, again,
Everybody say hello to AmericaShirts. How's it going, buddy?
It's going.
How's you feeling about this Inflation Reduction Act?
It's the IRS Enforcement Act is what it should be called. And to enforce, of course, and again, I don't know if we talked about it, but before this, the government was spending all kinds of money. And again, I don't know if we talked about it. Oh, there's echo. But Mr. Voice is before this,
Mr. Voice.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
But the federal government has been stockpiling guns and ammunition for the IRS over the past year, and then now they've just passed this this act here in the Senate, and it's going to push for the IRS to hire, what was it like? Was it 80,000 more employees? And they're basically going to have their own sort of like paramilitary force of their own, basically their own police force of their own. Now, again, I know there's like IRS enforcement type stuff that's already in existence, but they're going to like beef it up like shit. I mean, that's what they want. That's what they want, Mike. That's what they want to push for.
Yep, that's what they're pushing for. And
they would
it's
love
gonna happen.
nothing more than for that to go down.
Just right quick, not to cut you off there. Can Shirts hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
I can't hear Shirts. I have to hear him on my other device, but that's fine. I'll work that out. To address Law Patrol, when the package comes out for the healthcare part of this, the insulin and medicine package is only a portion of it. The beef industry, the slaughterhouses, and a lot of people don't even realize how much comes from Australia and how it's going to impact them. They're fucked. They're fixing to cut them off. Now, people don't realize what all is actually in this bill, but it's fixing to get very bad.
Hello, World's Fair Game. That's awesome. Welcome.
And I was also hearing some comments on here that this is not going to be at all repealed if the Republicans win back the House and the Senate. How many times do we have to, or do I have to bring up the point that we are winning across the board in every election, and all these rhinos are being kicked out of the primaries, to the point that in the blue state of Washington, I have video out about this on my Rumble. In the blue state of Washington, there's a guy in District 3 that is winning for the Republican side. I mean, MAGA is winning across the board. The MAGA candidates and the Trump-supported candidates are blowing out every one of these rhinos. Now, I don't know about if filling up the entire House of Representatives, but by God, we're going to get a large majority, if not the majority, MAGA. I don't know about the absolute majority, but we're going to get a large majority that's going to be big MAGA people in the House, as well as a decent portion in the Senate. So it would be foreseeable that this could be repealed if this goes down the way that we're hoping that it does, which it continually looks like that's exactly what's happening. So I don't mean to dump water on anybody, but we are winning. And so, yes, this is crap, but don't get completely black-pilled to hell because, oh, well, you know, the rhinos have done shit in the past. The rhinos are being hunted down, you know, quote unquote, politically in droves. They're being taken out across the board. So don't become completely black-pilled, ladies and gentlemen. There is no reason at all to become black-pilled. That is what they want you to do so that you lose your momentum, that you
Especially
lose
the way that
drive.
Trump enacted, where many of them could be fired from office and put out, and or essentially let go in certain ways. This is going to be very
Yeah.
Hello, BLT. How's it going?
And thank the leadership, hard work, and persistence of all of my colleagues, their teamwork, their spirit of teamwork, their knowledge that we had to pull together to get something done is awesome to me. Not awesome in the way the kids use the word, but in the biblical sense. You sort of tremble before.
In the biblical sense?
It's just amazing.
Oh my God, spare me.
The American people, as you know, overwhelmingly support our legislation. It's
No,
not
we
hard
don't.
to understand why Americans feel this way. We're delivering on the things they care about. We don't have to make things up.
I know
When
we care so
Republicans
much
did their
about the
big tax
IRS
bill in
having more guns and
2017, they said it
ammo
was
and
gonna
more
reduce
people to
your
hunt us
taxes
down and
to
take
the
our
average
money.
middle-class person, but it was
We
aimed at
care
the rich.
so deeply
This
about
is
that, Chuck
we are
Schumer.
talking about
You
exactly
gaslighting
what this
son of a
bill
bitch. We
does.
care so much
We
about
don't have
that.
to make it up because we're aiming directly at the American people and
Pardon
what
my
they want.
Portuguese.
So, let me say this, saying no to something is easy. It gets mistaken that, saying no.
It is easy,
that's
isn't
tough.
it?
There's no
It's
strategy
great.
or cunning to say
No is
saying
an
no.
awesome
Simple,
word.
It's easy. Legislating is about getting to yes. I've always been a yes person, not a no person. And I always wanted to get something done. And if you ask me what helped you get this done, some people have asked me that. I'd put it in one word: persistence. And I just tell you a brief story for those of you who hadn't heard about my dad.
Welcome, private and public.
My dad passed away in November. He would have been 99 on Flag Day, June 14th. He helped. No, I won't go into the whole story, but he was a brilliant participant in World War II and helped perfect radar. Flew over the hump. But when he came back, my grandpa, who had a little exterminating business, the family was starving because my grandpa, who was a union organizer, was sort of an idealist. Would tell people, "Oh, you look poor. You shouldn't have rats and roaches. Pay me when you can."
His father was a union organizer.
Business he bought to form a union, and he promised to pay them more money than him. So the family was starving. For the next 45 years, my father goes into this junkie business. He hated it, but he never complained, and I never even heard him utter a word of resentment about people who were given a better break than him. For those of you who've been close to your parents, my dad's still here, and he taught me two values, and that's why I tell the story. The first is always help people who need help. That's a noble thing. But the second is
to pull their
doing the
pants
right
down,
thing and
grape them
persist and don't
with
quit,
no
God will
lube.
reward you, you'll succeed. That has motivated me my
That's
whole
the
life.
second one. Oh.
And I think this
Give me
man
1
Luke,
second.
He had many bumps in the road, many times when it looked like it would never happen, but we never gave up. And here we are. We got it done.
What's up, TR?
One final point. I always prefer to work in a bipartisan way. That's my preference. That's what I've done throughout my career here in the Senate and in the House. And in the last 6 weeks, we have accomplished some incredible things. CHIPS, PACT Act, NATO, guns, WRDA, all bipartisan, all significant. But even though I prefer to work in a bipartisan way, when it's really important and the Republicans won't participate, we have to do it on our own.
Oh, they won't participate.
With 50 votes that reconciliation affords us, and that's what we used. That's what we did.
Can you hear me
Just
at
like
all?
Trump won't participate. Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
In short,
Okay.
It's in a momentous
It's like Trump wouldn't
achievement.
participate in your establishment, and then you went
It's
onto
gonna set our
television and
country
you
in a
said that
path to better days
all of the
ahead.
intelligence
I think
agencies
the public will
have two
understand
ways
that,
of getting back at you if you try
and I
to
think it's
stop
gonna
them.
help us
So
in
you know,
November
good old
significantly
Chucky
in two
Schumer
ways. First, the specific things we're doing that
knows how to
people
make
care
a
so much
passive
about.
aggressive threat
And second,
on
hey,
national television.
Democrats, even in this tough situation, polarized 50-50,
And this
can
guy acts like
actually
somebody
get big
wanted to
things
hear
done.
about his fucking father.
So there we are. Okay. Yes.
Damn union organized.
Well, look, in a 50-50 Senate, anyone can have some influence, and each of them had ideas. Senator Manchin was talking about inflation long before everybody else, and sort of the world caught up with him. And his all of the above energy policy, even though I might have some specific disagreements with it, is generally gotten much broader acceptance, particularly after Ukraine war and oil prices going up, et cetera. So he had a real impact on the bill. Senator Sinema had specific issues he was interested in. She was always very smart about it, and she was true her word. This morning we had a real bump in the road because Senator Sinema had promised Senator Thune that she would vote for his amendment and to cut back on state and local deductibility. There were a few members of my caucus, not me, even though I care about the issue, who said they're not going to vote for the bill if it cuts it. So we spent several hours trying to figure out a way to keep Senator Sinema true to her word to Senator Thune, but get it done. And we did. And when all of the 50 Democrats in the Senate vote for the bill, including the progressive wing of, Bernie and Elizabeth and Eddie Markey and people like that, and the conservative wing, the more conservative wing, I think it's going to set a tableau for the House that will make it much easier for the House to pass. Yes.
Wow.
Some of the things they'll find quite quickly, and some of the things will take a longer time. But even, say, prescription drugs.
Yes, TR. It's only been passed through the Senate. It does need to go back to the House. Next time the House actually sits isn't until Tuesday. So we'll all be paying attention on Tuesday what's actually happening there.
The fact that you're going to pay less is going to be a load off your shoulders. Yes. Yes. Look, I cared about these family issues. Senator Manchin, when we negotiated, felt given the needs to fight inflation, we didn't have time to do it. But we are going to return to those issues with a vengeance, and in the fall, and in every way that we can. I believe in them very, very strongly.
Koolfrogg,
and so does most of our caucus. And I think
old Chucky Schumer here is a little low in the volume.
I can't turn them up any louder.
Oh, you can't? Oh, well.
No. He's as loud as he can get.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Say again.
Well, I guess that's a good thing for the rest of the populace, but
No, right. For our case, yeah, we have to really be, pay attention to what he's saying.
We are not forgetting those family issues. We knew we had to accomplish what we could accomplish, but there's more to do. Both in the areas where we did stuff, there's more to do on climate, but also in the areas that we were unable to get a 50-vote majority for that bill, for those proposals. Yes.
And of course, we can't hear a single question that's coming from.
I can hear it. It's just
pool.
barely.
Yeah, right. You get the. Like, she's talking. Somebody's asking a question, but you just can't make it out.
Look, on climate overall, the fact that so many people now across America have seen the fires and the floods and the tornadoes and the hurricanes, the heat, that the weather is changing, have made many more people believers in climate change. So it's easier now than it was then. The urgency of the issue is much, much greater. When you see a fire not so far from your home, or a flood or whatever, when you hear that, if you live in Miami, the whole place may be flooded in 20 years, it makes a greater urgency. In terms of the permitting reform, I didn't like it, but it was something that Senator Manchin wanted. and we modified it some. And in fact, it has some very good things for the environment. It's going to make permitting easier for clean energy. And, you know, there are lots of red states that won't build transmission lines from the places where there's a lot of wind and sun to the places where there are a lot of people. So it's a mixed bag. One of the, we use
Oh,
these
what a
people who
damn
are
liar.
the modelers. They do models. And some of the modelers actually thought it would be a net increase, a net decrease in carbon in the atmosphere. And I would say one thing in all of that. I told my caucus, I didn't tell them details.
Because that's what matters, is worrying about the carbon in the atmosphere that's already there. Because, you know, whatever, you know, keep feeding us a bunch of bullshit. Tell us that you're going to actually create these fields and fields of water and run transmission lines to the bigger cities, and it's going to be enough. You're full of shit. It's never going to be enough. You're always going to be wanting to build more. You're always going to be wanting to recapture more land, more territory to actually build these power plants that they're actually talking of. And it's really so freaking stupid.
And I didn't want to, and particularly Joe didn't want it disclosed, you know, didn't want everything made public every day. But I told my caucus all along, including the most pro-environmental people, that...
Okay, hold on. So TR says Trump was right when he said clean the forest floors, cut the fire breaks. This wouldn't happen as badly every year. Okay, so true story. Back when I was younger, being an idiot, causing trouble, sitting in jail, they'd put me on STS crews, sentenced to service. And in these STS crews, you know, you worked for a whole 8 hours, and they gave you a day off of your sentence. So when you'd go out and you'd be stuck in these crews, they'd take us out into the woods where we'd cut down shit, clean up all the brush, and stop certain things from happening, like fires. You know, so as far as that goes, them
Why,
saying that
you
it wasn't
evil,
something
sick person, you. How dare you disturb the ground's microbiome walking all over the ground like that? You should be ashamed of yourself.
To address short order cook, Brazil exports more than 7 billion to the U.S. for beef. They are the number one exports. Australia is not far behind at 6.64 billion. Can you imagine what that's going to do to Brazil if Australia gets cut off because their meat industry is going down the drain? They're fixing to cut them off, and Brazil will probably be right behind them. They're in riots about it in Brazil now. If anybody notices, we don't get any more news from Brazil since the riots broke out a year and a half ago. Just saying.
We're going to have to
Well, they
swallow
have
some bad stuff to
Bolsonaro,
get
who's
good stuff, but
fantastic.
my North Star was always 40% reduction in the amount of carbon going into the atmosphere by 2030, and we've achieved that North Star. Very important. Yerka. Well, I've always said everything's on the table, and as I said, I like to work in a bipartisan way when we can, but when we can't, we should not. So I think, you know, everything should be on the table here to get things done. My job is to get things done. Our job as a Senate is to get things done for the American people.
Alan says they won't have to worry about the carbon buildup shortly. People like you and I will soon be a thing of the past. Since all these inflation hikes go on, we won't be able to feed ourselves.
Well, the inflation hikes right now, we need to understand exactly what Chuck is talking about, because the press right here is acting inadvertently impaired by what he's saying. And I'm not even sure if they understand, but this is what he's talking about. The inflation, or what we're talking about, this bill is covering, is in a 2-year projection. We haven't even seen the impact of the inflation that's coming at us right now. That's the hard part about this. It's bullshit.
and we'll use whatever tools that are necessary to do it. Yes. Yeah, we will have a vote on marriage equality.
Great. Democrats eat vegetables. Their meat tastes better.
Oh
That's
my.
what you're supposed to call it. We will have a vote on
I
it.
mean, hey, the New
Not
York
giving
Times
you
said we ought to look at
timetable.
cannibalism, right? You know,
We'll
all
come back
these
in September. There's
mainstream
a whole lot
articles
to
keep
do.
talking about eating
And one
bugs
of the
and eating
important
other
things we have to
people.
do is-
So, you know, hey, you know.
Well,
That's what you're supposed to call it. We will have a vote on it. I'm not giving you a timetable. We'll come back in September. There's a whole lot to do. And one of the important things we have to do as judges, and as you know, Board of Appeals judges take 30 hours each. I just filed for 2 of them to be due first thing when we came back, one from the 6th Circuit and one from I think the 9th, I don't remember. But we got to get these judges done. They're lifetime appointments. They're very important. And we'll keep working on them. But as you know, there's lots of things we need to get done. We're going to try to get as much of it done as we can. Yes, last one.
Yes, hurry up and take all the money from the lower classes so that you elites have it all. You got to do it quick.
Yes.
So this was blocked. It's sitting over in YouTube chat. It says, we could eat leftists. Just stay away from the major nervous system components.
I think we're already feeling some ease. Price of gasoline is down close to $1. And there are lots of things in this bill that will matter to people. Also in the CHIPS bill that will matter to people. We've really focused on reducing costs. And I think the American people will begin to see it. When gas was $5 a gallon, it was very hard for people to see anything else. But as
you asswipe.
Backlogs are reduced, you're going to see prices. There'll still be inflation, but I think they'll be somewhat lower. And I think people are going to see in the election first how far right the Republican Party has gone. Between the hearings about January 6th, the 3 court rulings on choice above all, but also guns and environment, and so the extremism and language and activity of so much of the Republican Party, I believe that people are seeing that they're an extreme party at the same time, and this is why this bill is so exciting in a political way. They're going to see Democrats are actually getting things done that matter to them, mainstream things that average folks, this is not an esoteric list. This is things that people have always cared about. In fact, when you look at the polling data, 2 of the top 3 things people want to see get done are closing loopholes on the rich and drugs, reducing the price of drugs. So I think it's going to have an effect. It's not the purpose of why we did it.
Reducing the price of drugs? What, street drugs? Or are you talking insulin?
They're trying to talk insulin, but it's not working. See, what it's going to turn to real fast is, wait a minute, I'll tell you, to address that, the chronic wasting disease, that's a problem that we've had for quite some time now, and people don't realize exactly how much it's infected the population of the animals through the area. So hunters will be affected greatly by that. It has. I've hunted the game myself. I mean, I can feed you a few stories about knocking down what should be 180-pound to a 220-pound buck, and based on the rack, and you're coming up with a 130-pound buck. I have the labs on that. It's crazy, and hunters are turning away. I know a lot of hunters that actually feed their scraps of it to their dogs. I don't want anybody to be offended by these things, but it's also causing a problem in hunting in hunting dogs, and it's deeper than a lot of people think. I mean, I could talk about that for about an hour, and the paperwork of the the paperwork that's actually flowing through the CDC and FDA is actually crucial. What they're not telling us is even more hard. It's even more consistent. They're trying to get judges to order the release of a lot of this data, and between it and the current situation, they don't want to. They would rather give up that information than to release the mainstream data that's actually apparent right now. Wait a minute. I'm going to share this one time. This was an ordered thing at one time, family and people and friends. If anybody understands the reference here, this was an ordered thing at one time.
Can you show it again real quick? Because we put you on full screen so that everybody can actually.
This, it's just a simple book for understanding. That was supposed to be an apparent real thing for people's understanding. This is fixing to become a real thing for people's understanding. People
Okay.
do not realize, but that's going to be apparent real soon. I apologize, but when our words stop working, when we stop talking about things, that the steps further, they haven't just gaslit the people here. People really don't understand this. Wait till the bill is actually produced and people get their hands on it and start reading it. I have a desk. I have a desk full of paperwork right now. I haven't even got to it yet. I mean, I looked at a desk the other day, this past week. The paperwork was stacked so high on it, you can't even fucking see around it. So they're fixing to make it impossible.
Right. So I see this real quick. And this says babies' stomachs are not able to digest evaporated milk properly, and it has high sugar, carob syrup in it. It's not good for the blood sugar. Was somebody else suggesting that we actually do this? Because if somebody was suggesting that we do this, we need to actually explain to them that that's not a good thing. Never to feed your children that much sugar, period. Feeding children sugar just turns them into, fat, lazy blobs of diabetes. Just saying. Don't do it. Don't do that. Don't feed your kids this stuff. I don't know who actually said anything. I seriously haven't been able to pay attention that closely to the chat, but no. So AmericaShirts, your turn.
Well, this is Raheem Kassam, and I like his comments here. He says, LMAO, they just use your taxes to increase your taxes so they can hire 87,000 IRS agents to rifle further through your taxes in case you owe more taxes. It's kleptocracy.
Right.
And of course, the picture there. And I also have this article from The Federalist that I will throw up here about the bill a little more. And I don't know if you went over these specifics earlier when I was not here, but let me zoom a little bit. The draft bill contains an $80 billion, quote, investment in the Internal Revenue Service. Of that amount, more than half, or over $45.6 billion, will go towards enforcement activities. Now, what the hell does the IRS need a total of $80 billion for? What the hell do they need that for? I mean, couldn't they just, again, literally, there's taking your own tax dollars and throwing it at the IRS to take more of your tax dollars.
If you can imagine them adding 5,000 more employees to the staffing range 80 billion's not going to go far. They're going to come back again in need because the Enforcement Act isn't going to go well. But that, you're right. You're right. Think about that 80 billion, people, because he said what he said is true.
I mean, yeah, what the hell do they need $80 billion for? Again, not million, it's $1 billion. What do they need that for?
And I promise they're going to tap into extra funding somewhere else too. I promise they will come back like they have every single time and say that it's not enough, that they're going to have to take from a certain fund somewhere else. I mean, people's pensions are disappearing now.
I mean, yeah, and you combine all of this with the lockdowns that happened, the supply chain breakdowns, the cutting off of the energy supply. You talk about, I mean, this is full-blown, out-and-out tyranny. And they're sitting there telling you from the UN puts out stuff. They say, this is what we want governments across the world to start doing. We don't want you to have private car ownership now. We want electric cars that are owned and run by the government and mega corporations, and they'll take you to your job and then back, and you won't have any freedom to go wherever you want to. They will control where you go. I mean, every aspect of this. But of course, I mean, even if that was to last for a little bit, it wouldn't last very long because you can't sustain that amount of electric car, that electric vehicular traffic. The electric grid couldn't hold on to it. With not only the coal-powered plants that we have now couldn't hold on to it. I mean, they're quote unquote renewables, which is not really renewable, but the wind power and the solar and all the rest of that crap, that's not going to be able to sustain that either. We're looking at total collapse at the worst and severe depression, sort of at a mediocre level at this, at best.
And I talked about that, and I'm going to address those two bottom comments. I talked about that some the other night, but I've touched on it in chat quite a few times here recently. That was a report that I read this past week, 2 weeks ago now, on the coming recall. But first, TR greater, $80 billion we don't have. That's $80 billion we don't have. We're already tapped as it is. I mean, what was brought in taxes, and they said that we've already set a record amount high this year in a 6-month period of take-in tax than ever before in American history, and that's already tapped. It's gone. Where's that going to come from? But the next comment, can't find the AM's email. To make matters worse, the recalling of tons of formula and plant-based stuff due to contaminations today, that's been on a report backdated for 2 weeks ago. There's going to be a shelf recall of over 400 dry good items, grains, seafoods, and contaminants, products of everyday people's living and what people love to consume the most. Your choices are about to become very limited.
They are, but feeding them sugar is not really the best thing. And I get it. I understand. When there's nothing else left, you have to go to that, the best next, resort to actually feed, and give them some nutrients. I know that not all these plant-based milks, these almonds, rices, coconuts, and oats, whatever, goat's milk, under the age of 1 doesn't give them the nutrition level that they need. I get that. But there's other things that you can do other than just giving them just the straight sugar milk. If you yes.
Do you remember? Does anybody
give them a cup of the sugar milk? If you do, the next one doesn't need to be sugar milk again.
How
Give
about
them one
women
of the other
breastfeed
ones.
their own children like they've done for thousands of years? I think
That's
that's
where the argument comes in. Some of them just can't.
But the others, but the other women that can, I mean, we saw this several times in the severe shortage there, like, what was it, like a month or two ago, I guess now, where there were women that would actually take their own breast milk and then they would give it over to other mothers so that they would be able to have it because the other mothers wouldn't be able
Right.
to. And
Right.
so
Exactly.
people can work together like this. I mean, this doesn't have to be a
And
total disaster.
if you
But
only
do have to
if you
realize what's going
can't
on.
do it, if
But
you
wait a minute.
can feed your baby off of your own, the refusal to do so is ignorance.
I would
Straight up.
caution. I would caution all women that would seek to breastfeed in these times, especially those that have been inoculated. I don't want to use too many words, but that have actually went through with these 1, 2, 3, and 4 procedures, the shot, the jab, because the information coming out on that, produced by several scientists so far, are already producing data that is saying that the results of it is causing toxins and it's turning to poisons in people. I don't know how good breastfeeding will be for some children.
No, I agree with you on that one. I'm not sure. I'm not positive that's always going to be the best thing, because obviously it's going to be there, and it's going to be
we went
easily
over all of that
traced
in our
into.
first video
but-
together. Actually, back
Right.
in October, we went over the entire documentation from Pfizer.
Right.
And we went
That
over
was
all of
December 4th.
December, pardon me.
No, you're fine.
So, yeah, I don't know what
You can't find it on YouTube. The only
And
place
on-
you can find that is available on Odyssey. I've been slacking and not filling anything in Odyssey. It's really backdated, and it's going to take me a long time to get that up to date. The only way I'd be able to actually make that anything easier, I think
it
you
is
need
on
like
Rumble too, right?
yes, it is on Rumble. Is to actually throw like 300 subscribers on the Odyssey, which there's so many people that really don't care for it. They're like, it's a crap platform, whatever. It's got its issues, whatever. So that's why I really haven't been using it. It's really backdated.
The things that are killer is people. I'm not sure what people in chat would remember.
No, that's Barton Bell. I already said, I get the argument on that is there are certain people that have an issue that it just doesn't work. I get that.
Right.
I get that 1,000 times over. I totally understand that not everybody can. There are issues, and there are only certain things that they can actually do to give the child the nutrition. If they can and they refuse to, that's their issue. They need to actually think about that one a little bit harder and actually maybe start implementing that if that's the last resort. Because if what are you going to do otherwise? Just saying. And I get it. It's always going to be a thought. Well, I don't want to do it because I don't feel right. It doesn't feel right to me to actually do it. Whatever this, that, and the other. I understand, but if you want your child to actually survive, or potentially survive, you might actually think about if you can do so, actually doing that.
It's going to take some time for these things to start showing up, and it's hard to find foods now that are actually lasting periods of time. Not that I would not to put pressure on people so that it's terrifying, a terror to us, because we definitely need to keep our wits, keep our minds about us instead of panic. But being prepared is a thing. I remember, I don't know, I mean, from the reading and from the propaganda of old, it was a real thing when Stalin posted the propaganda all over Poland and Ukraine and other places that said literally in great big red letters, it's not right to eat your children. That fucker actually, that was big flyers posted up everywhere.
Kekoda says, how does it work for a woman who have to return to work with little to no maternity leave, expressing milk, versus working and paying bills? That's where the argument that the nuclear family is the best because somebody can actually go to work while the other actually takes care of the child. Because usually, and I'm a very big proponent of it, being I'm the at-home dad, that having one person that's able to actually take care of the child while the other one works is actually very beneficial for both the child and the family, because it costs so much more to send that child to a daycare, almost just as much as it costs you to actually go to work. So when you think about it, that's where that issue comes into play, is maybe you should stay with the person that you have the child with. And I know that's not always the best. There's always something to go back on and say, oh, well, what about this? Or what about that? There's always arguments for all of it. And I understand that happens. If you can find somebody to help you, that is the best. And I
I'm
know
not
I am
suggesting-
very lucky, and that's why I get that, Sparkles. I'm very lucky to be able to do that. I get that. I understand. There are circumstances that, prevent this from actually being the best situation, where some people just have these instances where they just can't do anything. There's nothing more they can do. Find a family member that is willing to assist you.
To back up
Somebody
there, a
that
couple of comments. I've been talking about that for quite a few years now, that the only place that will really be able to start on a level, and Trump opened the door for it, but he was not able to follow through on a 4-year term. People don't understand that, how much he done in a 4-year term, but how much he was not able to do just because it was a 4-year term and they exactly decided to get him out of there. There was no such thing as keeping him there. The judges and the judges' seats, things will not change until judges' seats changes. We have got to get left or right leaning judges out of the. It's my firm opinion. Now, everybody has their own, but just my firm opinion, judges should not even be able to vote. When they sign on to the bench, they should be constitutional only, not allowed to vote. They don't have a say in that because of their position. They should not be left or right leaning, no political affiliation. Judges should be set apart. Constitutionally, that's by law. Whether people agree with the Constitution or not, that's becoming a radical thing. But I agree with the Constitution. I agree with our rights. And according to law, judges are supposed to be a very peculiar and particular thing to us, which now it's not. We have way too many Democratic judges and Republican judges and whatever. But they should be constitutional only. And that's law abiding judges, not Democrat judges or Republican judges, period. That's a real thing.
So if you throw back at my article here, Koolfrogg,
Yeah, absolutely. There you go.
the other part of this here is, and again, 80 billion to the IRS. They're hiring around 87,000 agents. Here's the total number: 86,852 agents. What this is going to do is that because you're not going to be able to make the money that you would normally make, because the dollar isn't worth what it used to be, this is an excuse for the government and also, other people that you owe money to can come in. And that's not necessarily what's in the bill, but just in general, right? Like not only these people, but others that you would, owe monies to, can come in and take your assets. And that's what it's really about, because the money game, the cash game here, right? A dollar bill that doesn't have anything that backs it up. That's exactly what it is. And everybody that understands this knows this. So they're just driving everything up to drive your prices down, because they know most people in the United States don't actually have a ton of hard assets, but a lot of them do own, that do pay mortgages and stuff. They have a home, they have a house, they have whatever. The government can come in and seize that, and they can either, I guess, keep it or possibly, I guess, auction it off to the highest bidder. BlackRock perhaps comes in and buys up more real estate. I mean, they will own the ground underneath your feet at this point, because they will try to make you owe as much as possible, and you'll never be able to pay it back. And they know that, and that's why they have all of this coming up, because they know they're going to try to increase the taxes. They're going to try to continually hyperinflate the dollar. I mean, we're headed into dragflation. In fact, we're not headed into it. We're already in dragflation.
Right. Which
And,
literally means you haven't seen half of it
it's
yet.
drag.
It's drag.
Yeah.
Right.
As the great Gerald Celente likes to say.
Meaning it takes a while to be seen, because we haven't even hit the brunt of what they've already spent as far as inflation goes, and the numbers rising. They're so drawn on this. Well, we've just seen a 90-cent reduction in the gas prices, so that ought to help out Americans some, and they're really trying to play on that and lean on that, like, hey, well, it's going to come down, it's going to keep coming down. No, stop, just wait, let that mature. Don't cling to every word. I can't stress that enough.
Oh no, the gas prices aren't going to come down, especially when the diesel trucks that are necessary to run the gas throughout the United States don't have the engine oil to be able to have the damn truck to function. So those gas prices are not going down. Those things will ever more skyrocket until we actually get some diesel engine oil back up and running.
Moreover, the cutting off of trucks is fixing to become a real thing too. They've already.
Oh yeah, it's from both angles there. Oh, absolutely.
Right, because California just passed that bill. California just passed a bill that cut off all truckers coming into the state or going out of the state, especially independent truckers. That's fixing to become a real thing there, because they busted the faces of the insurance companies first, which put a great tax hike and a great rise on what it will cost them out of pocket for just insurance measures, which nobody will be able to afford. I mean, the bills, the inflation is scattered in so many different areas that we just haven't seen it coming yet. It's going to be crucial.
And I mean, we've already seen a lot of it as it is, but as you're saying, it's not nearly what they've spent. We don't see that whole reality yet.
Right.
But we see a lot, but we haven't seen the last of it. We haven't seen the majority of it.
I mean, what we're looking at here is like a long drug out fashion show. We've seen only the first two or three girls, if I can say this way, we've seen only the first two or three models come down the line. We've got about 100 more to go. If anybody remembers right, just 2 years ago, the man signed 80 fucking bills, like in the first 80 days, the first, 40 days, couple of months in office. They don't even know, we haven't even seen realizing the effects of that yet. So,
it says in the article, but last May, the Treasury Department released its, quote, tax compliance agenda, showing where it would like to spend that money, which would be the 80 billion, and then of course the 45.6 billion to the enforcement activities. On page 17 of that document, it helpfully, and of course there's a link there to that, it helpfully included a chart demonstrating the IRS agents it would hire with that additional cash. All told, the Biden administration wants to hire 86,852 agents, expressed in this chart as FTEs, or full-time equivalent employees.
Right. In which they've already got scheduled 5,000 to bring in by the end of the year. What I was saying. And then they're going to push that further, the Enforcement Act. We're talking about 86,000. He just said 86,000 IRS new bring-ins.
And there'll all be enforcement agents. And so it's not just going to be desk people. I mean, they want people with guns ablazing. I mean, this is the push. This is the push for, federalizing police force, getting rid of the local police, federalizing police force, because this is what they want. They want to be able to take everything you have just right out the ground out from underneath of you, even if they have to. I mean, that's the push for this, because their globalist masters want to own the ground underneath your feet. So there is no free land for you to walk upon. I mean, that's what they want. That's the end goal of this. Of course, the 86,000 obviously isn't the end all be all, obviously, but I'm just saying this is what they're pushing for. This is what they want. And this is what you're seeing in this, is this push towards this.
And just as soon as people start getting tapped and running out of money, and people are starting to cause an effect, a butterfly effect really starts to crush in. In order to help, now listen to this, because this is going to be the rhetoric, people, and you can kind of quote me on this as you go along. Just kind of keep this in your memory and keep it rolling so that you'll have it there when it comes out on the news and they throw at us. In order to help the American people out, we're going to present you with a buyback plan. And this will be towards guns and ammunition, etc. A buyback. That's to help you out. This will throw a little bit of extra money to those that will comply. This will throw a little extra money your way, and they're going to right. It'll never be enough, but it's the point of getting that out of your hands, because you'll be in a pinch. Your cars, your vehicles, wanting you to switch over. There'll be a buyback plan, a trade-in. I promise.
And then once you're left completely defenseless and you have nothing to defend yourself and nowhere else to go, they will come and take the ground out from underneath of your feet, and then you will become a permanent serf to the upper class. And that's what they want. That's what they're pushing for.
Dingo, welcome.
And I mean,
how in the F did the Senate pass this bill?
It was a 50-50 split.
It was right with the help of our Vice President of the United States.
Let's throw another one in there. Let me throw one more in there. Not to keep bankrolling it, not to keep rolling over things, but let me throw one more in there, because through all of this, we're suddenly gonna not pay attention to the influx of migration. We've got a slam of people coming in through that will be happy with Joe Biden and them to take your job and do it for a less price and push you right out the door.
Yep.
Yeah. And
that's not a joke.
Exactly. That's how it works. Right. Exactly.
Attack here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it's a multiple attack.
It's
going to be from every
angles, from multiple vectors. And this is why we need to get all of these good base people, all these MAGA people into office in November. And we need to impeach Joe Biden and everybody and anybody in his administration possible. Get them all out. They have violated their oath of office. They are, again, food security is national security. Infrastructure security is national security. Electric grid security is national security. And
what's
border
that
security
meme, Copium?
is national security.
I see your question. We'll get to that.
Impeach him, impeach Harris, impeach them all.
Wait a minute.
And do it now.
Do you see the guy that sold 165 3D printer guns to a gun buyback for $150 a pop? I did see something about that.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous and super funny all at the same time. Because, dang well that he, though he sold as many as he did, he still owns the 3D printer. Just saying.
Well, they'll soon confiscate the patent.
I mean, he's already got it set inside his computer, so I'm sure he can just go and hit.
And they already did that with the Ghost Guns program thing that they put out there. Joe Biden did. They already said within the next how many months ago was this? I think it was back in April. They said within 6 months or so, they're going to be putting actions in place to where you're not able to, or they want to be able to put these actions in place.
Exactly.
But you're not going to be able to construct anything like that yourself.
So because we were asked, how did that work? How did it get pushed through? Let's watch it real quick here.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided,
Just
the Vice
incredible.
President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
That's how that works. Exactly how that works. It's really dependent on who this person is when something like this comes into play. One person can totally change everything.
Yay.
However they feel.
Kamala Harris.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Making everything for the American people and the middle class.
Everybody recall to mind and memory. Everybody recall to mind and memory, because all of those damn fucking Democrats said with an open mouth that this one person, speaking of the previous vice president, couldn't change anything. Watch this vice president sign that and change a damn lot.
And again, folks, this makes you angry. This makes you upset. But we cannot resort to anything of violence. We have to fight back with this politically, the ballot box. We have to show up on the street, and we have to, we got to do it like the Dutch have been doing, this peaceful protest. We got to do it this way, because if you go the other route, they'll try to.
We do have new people in the room since we actually talked last or whatever. So being that there's a couple people in here, this bill does need to go back to the House of Representatives. The next seating for the House of Representatives doesn't happen until Tuesday. So there is a few days for the people in the House of Representatives to actually read what is in this, what it is packed with, and decide about us Americans that are being the ones that are going to have to actually pay for this shit.
But we got to do it like the Dutch have been doing when, like they're doing now. And I hear people talk about it, right? And like the Dutch, and of course we covered it some with what the Dutch are doing over in the Netherlands with the impact on their society and the impact on all of these laws that they're passing like this over there. And it's the same agenda. It's the 2030 agenda. It's the Great Reset agenda. It's from the UN, the World Economic Forum, from the top down. And this is what this is the push. This is why it's multiple nations. This is globalism. This is what they want to do. And this is and so we got to do it like their model. We can't go down the Sri Lankan route and just go like, oh my God, the whole government's corrupt. Just throw everybody out of office, guns ablazing, go
and then
crazy,
replace it with somebody that's part of the World Economic Forum all at the same time. Because
right. Because
but that's the thing. When you collapse it, you'll have no control. And that's what they want. And then they'll come in and be like, oh, see, your system of constitutional government clearly doesn't work. Let's try this. Let's see this way. We got to try out, quote unquote, all these new ideas of this kind of thing. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to throw out your representative governments for those who live in parliamentarian style governments. And for us who live in a constitutional republic, they want you to throw off all of that representative government. And they want you to centralize power because, oh, well, this kind of representative government's too corrupt and doesn't work and everything else. And that's what they would love for you to do. And of course, in the United States, they would love nothing more than for people to try and take up arms against the government. And then they can come in and say, look at all these terroristas that we've got running around. Quick, lock them all in prison, and get rid of them. And then they would love nothing more than to declare war on the people on the opposite side of the political spectrum and arrest all of their political adversaries and try and throw them all into prison. They would love nothing more than to try and get that done and to try to get that across. They know that if they keep pushing this, that something like that might end up coming down the line to a certain degree, but we have to stop it now. We can't just sit around and wait and be like, oh, let's bitch and let's be blackpilled until something happens. We got to push back now to save the constitutional republic that we have in our hands. And the same thing goes for other people who are watching this that live inside of sort of what they call, representative democracies, whatever. They're in parliamentarian representative style governments. You have to protect what you have now. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I mean, it's better than having this kind of centralized control and having this sort of global corporate type government where it's like, oh, okay, you know what? Like, we can't trust these people with this. We're going to centralize power. Oh, the mega corporations and all these big people, they're all the big brains. They're all the, the aristocrats. They know what they're doing. We need to give some of this stuff over to them. We need to give power over to them. That's what they want to start coming down the line. And they want you, and the stepping stone into that is Sri Lanka, is Panama now has protests going on. Colombia has a bunch of crap. I mean, this is what they keep pushing for. This is what they want. And we have to put a stop to this now. I was
going to address both of them, and I was going to address both of them. Thank you for bringing both of those up. But to put it in a short-term form for you there, the Sri Lanka government, what they actually done was instituted a brand new democratic government that those people don't even see. And this one is worse than the other ones because they actually, the last report that I got on that, they started opening fire on the people there. No different than what was in Kazakhstan, what was seen that happened with them. Now, in case you need to understand how that's possible, this last 2 years, two and a half years of the scam that went on, okay, what you actually got to witness,
100%.
What you actually got to witness was whether or not they could run the parliamentary, whether or not they could run the House, whether or not they could run the government through, that was the basic first starter package for seeing if they could run it through the institutions without being in the House, without being in the Senate, without actually showing up through a Zoom style, that you don't even have to see them anymore. They make the decisions without you even seeing them, being in person kind of attitude thing. Joe Biden made the announcement when he went over to Europe and stood in the United Nations and gave his little speech and said to all of them that there are less democratic governments worldwide now. And he said it with a very angry voice, which meant that they have it institutionalized to the point they don't need there to be a government there. It's institutionalized, which means
that's toy box brain. What's going on
every
man?
town. It's in every town. It's in every county. It's in every state. Institutionalized democratically, which means you don't even need your representative there. Zoom meetings were the test to see if they could do it without actually coming into the damn office. So the in-person thing is done almost. If we were to come against them, what the fuck would we be coming against unless we're just destroying a building with nobody in it? So as much as I want to go out to the shed and load up everything that I got, which I can, that's not going to matter with an enforcement coming at you and nothing to hit besides them.
I mean, right, because it's like, well, I mean, who are you? I mean, what are you going to be fighting against? Your brainwashed, lip-tard neighbor or something? Like, I mean, this individual.
Actually, our children, our brothers and sisters, our mothers and fathers, the people that are serving now, exactly. What you're right. That's right. Turning our own, because what's his name? When they've been having all of the discussions about whether or not people need these kind of firearms, these kind of weapons, these kind of things, wanting to ban them, calling for these bills to ban guns, and you can only have these kinds, one or two kinds, like the M1A carbine and such like that, which is idiotic, and all of this transition that they want to go on. I mean,
Miss Dinga Dinga says, "What are the Dutch doing?"
Everybody's out. Everyone in the Netherlands is out.
They're out on the street.
Everybody's out on the street.
Every single one of them.
Roads. They're in the cities. They have signs. They have flags. They have everything. They're out in mass. All the farmers are out. All their farming equipment's out in the road, on the street, in the middle of the city, parked in front of buildings.
Shit.
People are cheering. Everybody's out. Everybody's mobilized.
Lighting
on the ground. The populace,
big bonfires.
the people are mobilized.
Right. And they don't have a choice
peaceful protest
but to be, because they have literally shut down their farms. They cannot work. So they have no choice but to take to the streets. but to mobilize, but to move towards it. They haven't given them a choice.
Copium says based windmill people.
I know, right? I mean, and the Dutch deserve credit because they were one of the first governments in Europe that actually, and of course,
implement it.
Well, in a historical sense, because he says like based windmill people, they actually were some of the first people to have a constitutional form of government, even not necessarily our version of constitution, but they had a social compact type government where the social compact government with the people type relationship with their government, and they were some of the first to even implement that and institute that.
Right.
And so the Dutch, in an ideological sense, have that in their history. So they
the basic form of a free market.
Bit of credit.
Right. The basic form of a free market economy, which they limited greatly, and now they have absolutely swiped out from under them. And they're pissed. And they've all taken to the streets. We can't even get a look at Brazil, really.
M. Swartz says, I'm Ukrainian. Tried telling me the citizens don't need guns to protect themselves. Right?
Right. I mean,
Barton Bella says politicians here knew this was coming. That's why they cracked down on the J6 people. It's set an example, and now the right won't hardly attempt it. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but when worse comes to worse, the bunch of us that had nothing to do with J6, that didn't go there, that didn't, understand that it's what we were supposedly supposed to do, that actually stayed home, will fight back. They're greatly mistaken when they see that they think that we're all just compliant and we're all going to sit around and be complicit until something happens. Nah, it's not going to work. They're really seriously going to be in a hard place when they actually find out how many people are actually against the bullshit that's going on.
Yeah.
No,
what they want to do again is they would love nothing more than to start up a little bit of like a civil war type of scenario, and they would love nothing more than to criminalize people who they would deem to be extremists. And then, of course, once they do that, then they'll discourage anyone else of that political ilk from even participating in that. They will successfully they'll lock up half of their opposition, one half of their opposition, and the other half of the political opposition will just simply cave and turn themselves over and whatever, and they'll just turn over belly up, and they'll just do whatever they tell him. And then that's when the things of, the sort of Chinese social credit score and this top-down, technocracy type rule they want to implement. As Jack Posobiec likes to say, the World Economic Forum wants to bring the Chinese social credit score and tyranny model upon the West. And that's exactly what they want. China is their playground to test all of this stuff out with. Google's over there, Apple's over there, and they do all this crap, and they assist the Chinese in that kind of technocracy. And now we're seeing the ESG score, and they're bringing this over into the United States, into the Western world.
Night, Alan. Have a good night. Sleep well.
Have a good one, Alan. So
we all need to step up now, socially, morally, politically. I mean, religiously. I mean, stand against this in every form and fashion, and do it now. Get out and vote. Get out on the street. Get out and make your voices heard. And do it now. We stopped a lot of the lockdown stuff because of the protests that went on. I mean, granted, they were brutal in Canada, but they had to repeal some of it even in Canada, as tyrannical as their government has become. I mean, when we push back, we win. And I mean, again, like I said, I made a video on Rumble here yesterday talking about the Congressional District 3 in the state of Washington with Joe Kent, the MAGA candidate. And go there and watch the video. I mean, I explain all of this politically. We're winning. So go there and watch that on my Rumble, AmericaShirts. You'll see it in the description. Go over there and check that out and watch it. It's several, what is it? I think it's like maybe 20, 30 minutes or something like that. I forget. But it's worth your watch. It's good. And I think it's important for people to listen to and understand what's going on politically here. And so this is not the end of the world. This is not a black pill. This is telling you what they want. It's telling you their plan. It's telling you what's coming ahead of what they're planning, so we can strategize and mobilize to stop it. And that's the kicker there. We have to, I mean, don't just sit here and just stare into the abyss. You can stop this. Just the awareness of what they're doing, just the awareness of the plans that they want to do, just the awareness of just looking at a bill like this and just seeing right through it and getting other people to see through it too. I mean, just that at mass. I mean, people are waking up everywhere to this stuff. I mean, it is just a massive awakening to all this kind of crap.
Good night, cake or death. Sleep well.
Oh, later. But people are waking up everywhere.
Look at the Amish. Let's think about the Amish for a minute, because we all know that they're the least among us to comply with any government measure. They're the least among us to comply. They're coming out. They're speaking out. Moreover, on that, if the IRS take full enforcement on things the way that they want to, many of the Amish farms, many of the Amish families, it'll look like a Waco, Texas, all over again. If anybody remembers that event, because they're going to hit them hard. They're the least to comply among us. And if they come out ahead of us, that really ought to say something to people. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. The Amish are speaking out. So
yeah, and so get out there, people, and understand what's going on and help to wake other people up. That's why I have my America shirts. Well, one of the reasons I have my AmericaShirts.com. Wear a t-shirt. A t-shirt speaks 1,000 words. Sometimes a couple of words can speak 1,000 words.
Right.
Or a picture is worth 1,000 words.
And there's a lot of information flowing. There's a lot of information flowing between content creators. I mean, I would really, really love to give shout outs to so many that are producing content right now that are touching on some of these things that even they're not getting in enough of it. They're not getting in enough of it, but there's a lot of content producers out there that's putting out stuff. And I'm not going to throw out names like that, but you all know who you watch on and who you don't watch.
That's an awesome point. Miss Dinga Dinga says, I live in California and you're blacklisted. Sometimes I want to move, but sometimes I feel like I can represent and make noise here. Many are closeted Republicans. Yeah. I mean, it's waking them up and getting them to actually understand that, things can be better if people actually understood what was going on and they weren't sitting there sleeping on it and not really giving a crap about their neighbors.
And so this is not a black pill when we tell you any of this stuff. This is to get you to be enlightened and aware of what's actually happening. And so that way you understand how to strategize and how to go along with strategy that's working to be able to combat this politically and socially and, heck, economically. I mean, this is why we talk about go local. This is not we're going to go into a depression. There's no reversing that at this point. We're going to go into a depression. It's going to be hard. It's probably going to be the biggest that we've ever faced in America.
I'm assuming
and
we're going to
get
an influx
as we've just discussed.
People actually jumping in here in a second. It looks like Farron just ended her stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had legal vices on with her, so there was a bunch of people that normally are over here that were over there. So I'm sure they'll show up here very shortly.
But when I say this kind of stuff, when we talk about this kind of stuff,
can we play this thought real quick off of Bernie Sanders?
No.
23 seconds.
Yes, please go ahead. To address that, the Amish, can they actually speak out? I know that seems like
23 seconds. Give me 23 seconds.
To take a moment to say a few words about the so-called Inflation Reduction Act that we are debating this evening. And I say so-called, by the way, because according to the CBO and other economic organizations who have studied this bill, it will in fact have a minimal impact on inflation.
A minimal impact on inflation. Inflation Reduction Act does nothing to do with inflation reduction. It's a term that they use to make it sound like it's something good. We went through the Axios that actually explained a bunch of things that were actually, part of that bill that really seriously are not good. So even Bernie Sanders, that still voted for it, seen that it does nothing to do with what they're actually naming the bill. The left is very good at naming something that has nothing to do with the thing that they're actually trying to do. Because if they would have named it what it exactly was, a pile of shit, ain't nobody going to vote for it. So they're like, Inflation Reduction Act, let's see if that actually works. They got their 50 people to vote for it. Just saying, people need to start paying attention to what's going on with the government.
I mean, that's right. But to address that about the Amish, look, read one statement just up ahead of you, Toy Box Brain. The Amish are being hit with regulations for food production in the last year. They're speaking out about it, even though they're little wooden phones. No, some of them have mobile devices. No, they don't turn them on. No, they don't interact with social media that way, but there are certain ones in the families that do have a device so that they can keep up with news and such. And they've started producing videos. Many of them, they're starting to speak out too. And yeah, they do matter. But when they start speaking out, they are getting hit bad with regulations. They're the least to comply. What we're talking about here, we're being kind. We're being kind. I wish that it's a real thing if you could sit around their family table talks and listen at what they talk about. Because it's not, they're workers. Unless they hit them hard, they'll survive. The people in cities that aren't used to working, that aren't used to farming, that aren't used to putting their hands to the grindstones like people like me, like many of us, they're going to be the first ones to fall away to the side. The Amish will persevere. They're working class.
Gene.
They're going to have to hit them very hard.
How's it going, sweetheart?
They're going to hate the regulations.
Yeah. And so when we address all these people, as I've said, this is not something to where you need to flip out and go completely bat crap and go, oh my God, and black pilled and whatever. This is so that you understand what's going on and so that you can better prepare for what is coming. And that way we survive it and we thrive through it, as a matter of fact, and we can. But we have to work together in our own communities, locally, in our own states, and we have to focus on, we can't be reliant upon these mega corporations. That's not a survivable model, period, let alone with all this crap going on. I mean, we have to focus on building up and beefing up ourselves, our families, our communities. We have to start looking into, getting real skills, real assets, things that actually are worth something and are worth of value, and actually start pushing for this and actually start developing your own communities where you live. I mean, and that's probably one of the biggest answers to this, is to develop your own community, to develop in small businesses, and to try to get this stuff moving locally at a local level. And it starts with your family, and it starts with other people in the community, and it starts with, people who can grow their own food, people who can grow more for other people. They grow more for other people, and you get working and you get moving and you get a system going, and you break away from their system. And that's what is going to help us to thrive despite anything.
And a big point that we need to hear.
Mean that, that I don't know, maybe the US dollar will completely crash. But maybe it won't. Maybe it will come back if we get good legislation in November, and we actually make a huge push and push back the other direction. But, you know, society itself does not have to completely and totally collapse, is what I'm trying to say. This is not a Mad Max scenario that we have to be looking at. Now, I'm not saying it won't ever get there, but, you know, if we don't push back and if we don't do something, but it looks like we are doing something politically and otherwise, and it looks like people are mobilizing, but we got to keep moving and we got to keep pushing in this direction. And so we got to continue to be aware of the enemy's strategy. We got to continue to be aware of what they're doing in order to be able to combat them. And we got to be on our feet, and we got to be moving. And we can't be stagnant, and we can't be lazy, and we can't just simply say, oh, look, we won the midterms. Great. This is awesome. Now let's just kick back and do whatever. No, you have to keep pushing. You have to keep calling your senators and congressmen. You have to keep pushing for the impeachment of Joe Biden. You have to keep pushing for all this stuff. You cannot let up at all. They're calling for new things with monkeypox, with climate change. You've got to keep the pressure on, the pedal to the metal all the time. And that's what's going to push back against this. And despite anything that comes our direction, if we focus on ourselves and we focus on our communities from the ground up rather than from the top down, that's what's going to help us, is our own communities being able to grow. However you do it, I don't know every single specific about every community. I don't know every single thing. I don't know all small businesses. I don't know everything across the board with everybody. But what we need to focus on is starting with our families and starting with our communities and starting with our own local towns and cities and other places, and build from the ground up rather than having all these mega corporations from the top down get rid of all small businesses, like all the big Walmarts and all the big, huge dollar store chains and things like this. And we need to start, again, from the ground up, like America was supposed to be, and actually control things ourselves from the ground up. And that is what's going to help us to survive. Because if this place over here and this portion of America gets a drought, but then this portion gets rain, well, then that person can have more food. And then that way you get more food production. But if you're only reliant upon one centralized area for your food production, well, then, you know, I mean, you're going to run out of food very quickly if they have a drought, or if they're hit hard with something from the government or from a mega corporation that decides to buy up all the farmland. Bill Gates, you know, I mean, we can't let this keep happening. We can't let these people continue to buy up the ground from underneath of our feet. We can't let them continue to do this to the middle class.
Right.
Amish Bill Gates. Oh God.
But another thing we need to look at too is a thing that's really fixing to become a real power struggle between the branches of government, between the Democrats and the Republicans, is who's going to gain any kind of control over the military. Anybody that's got military family, need to talk to them and find out where they stand. I know many military won't want to comply with any of this, so I guess they'll lose their job. When these things start becoming apparent, they'll have to make budget cuts. Absolutely certain they'll cut military funding big time, because a lot of military people won't comply with this. I'm hoping, we all hope. They're our family, they're our people, they're our people, they're our people. And depending on the power struggle that happens here with the military, if they cut the military budget, where do you think the enforcement of such as a National Guard type
America,
is?
Yes. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but yes.
No, you're fine.
To answer this, yes, there is a stipulation in the government here in the United States. There is a stipulation. It's a executive order for emergency powers that if there is an emergency, a natural disaster or otherwise, FEMA is allowed to come and take your food if you have a 6-month supply of food. Right. And that's something else. It's like, so people get a 6-month supply of food because everybody's told to get a 6-month supply of food. That's from the government because they want to take it. So you need to have a 12-month supply, and you need to have either like a phony supply or a crappy supply from like some cheap, dumbass Amazon people who just fill it with a bunch of toxic bullcrap and just have that there. And then they can take that if they want. But yeah, you should totally keep that hidden away from FEMA. So when they come knocking at your door, it's not anywhere. Sorry, we don't have anything. So yeah, but I know Shorter Cookies from, I believe it's Australia. But in America, that is a thing for FEMA. So anyways, continue, Mr.
And well, speaking about them, that's another good point concerning our military and how they will try to use them or abuse that power, the struggle between what will be represented there concerning FEMA, if anybody remembers, from 2012 to 2015 through the Clintons, through the Obama administration, we've seen there was a great big mass thing that happened. If anybody remembers around that time, they had the mass casualty trainings that were going on. They called in many groups, safety officials, Homeland Security was involved in that. FEMA had a big push towards that. They'd done nothing but mass casualty trainings. Why would they do that unless they were preparing for something that that would be unseen? That's not a joke when you see things like that happening. I mean, I've literally seen the FEMA camps where they had them set up, the FEMA camps, the old FEMA camps from the hurricanes, 2005, 2006, from the hurricanes, Rita, Katrina, Wilma, when they had all the FEMA camps set up. They're loaded to the gills right now with what's known as the portable caskets, the stackables. You know, they actually done a huge mass casualty training in from 2012 to 2015. They're not preparing for life, people. They've never prepared for life for us to live. They spend more time preparing for death than they do life. That's a real understanding that needs to sink in.
Oh yeah, as the great
short order cook here
Alexander
asks
Edwards
questions.
Jones likes to
Is that
say, they want you dead.
Yeah.
If I thought if there was an emergency order.
Do I not get to talk or what? You guys just gonna sit there and hold it?
No, you don't.
Go with it.
We have insurrected your show, Koolfrogg. Sorry.
Stop it. Short order cook says, I thought if there is an emergency order, they are bringing in COMM. Something. What's the force called?
Well, that would be no. Wait a minute. I know exactly what they're talking about, and that would be concerning the UN. We already seen an influx of UN troops. The UN, not just troops, but yeah, basically that's what would literally take over the nation, is the United Nations, the UN. Not from here, not from what people think of our New York United Nations. No, sorry. We're talking about the European United Nations, and NATO would step in because they're the ones that hold the damn agenda.
Yeah,
If
not like the white hat people in Africa.
Everybody do what Gene said. Make sure you go hit that.
Yeah, he's right.
But I mean,
subscribe.
look it up.
We have these types of base conversations on a regular basis every night.
I mean, if anybody wants to look that up, it's very easy to find. Go and Google in the UN agenda. We're in sections 21 through 30. We should be probably around 25 or 26. It's all there. It's already pre-written. All they're doing is following through. They don't have that the humanities have already declared that part of it. They've got to follow through. Every time we hear them talk about these things, we're going to have the emissions push by 2030. We're going to have this set by 20. We'll be in this position by 2030, by 2035, or by 2040. They've already thought way the fuck ahead of all of you. Is their idea that they don't need you to think.
We have to see that plan, and then we have to start strategizing, and we have to start looking at ourselves. And again, something as basic as just like, hey, I have a place to plant like 2 peach trees.
I've seen that also.
I mean, just basic level stuff. If everybody does something like that,
right,
be a world of difference.
If you have the means to do it, do it.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So here, real quick, AG slams Biden for threatening to take away school lunch money by pushing far left ideology. In other words, Biden will strip school lunch funding if they don't adhere to woke agenda they are so keen on pushing. To just make sure everybody knows exactly what's happening, you have the Department of Agriculture, the USDA, which is saying for school districts that provide reduced lunches for needy children, nutrition assistance for needy children, if you want this money, you have to allow biological males to play women's sports. And you have to allow biological males to use women's bathrooms. To get money to feed the children, you have to actually go along with their ideology. That's disgusting and very disturbing that they would think that, oh, you need to actually adhere to what we say and how you should teach them to be able to identify as how they want, regardless. Otherwise, you don't get money to feed the children that can't afford it.
Right.
Are you kidding me right now?
I mean, if anybody's, please read the screen, people. This is not a joke. The next few lines, the new posters say that the institution is prohibited from discrimination on the basis of
race, color, national origin, sex, age, disability, and reprisal of retaliation for prior civil rights activity. They're willing to take away all funding if you go against anything that goes along with the leftist ideology.
And the way that this bill, what we just seen earlier that we're talking about that they're pushing, the way that they have recategorized the biological woman, a biological female, what that can be, in their opinion. I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Jam K says the Obama administration destroyed school lunches. And, well, Obama administration number 3, we're going to destroy it even further.
Yeah. I have something here. Little something there, Koolfrogg.
Yeah, absolutely.
Biden says New World Order is coming. Huh. There's countless of these articles here. Biden says New World Order. Biden says we need to create a New World Order. Biden in Europe saying we need to create a New World Order. A New World Order is coming. This is the plan. And we have to strategize and we have to combat this now. You got to push back now. You got to push back now. You got to push back hard. And we're winning and we're doing it. But I'm just telling everybody, you got to keep the line. You got to hold the line. You got to keep pushing, pedal to the metal, full stop, full tilt, whatever, full hand mode. Keep
then going. If you weren't already concerned with all the monies that they're just willy-nilly spending into the billions of dollars, there you go. Biden will send another $1 billion to Ukraine. Let's just keep on sending them more money. This is as of today. This is a brand new something or whatever that they're actually pushing.
Out of whose pocket, people? Out of whose pocket?
Exactly. Out of whose pocket?
Yours.
If you're not paying attention, you're going to all of a sudden realize that, oh, so inflation's going up, even though they're trying to reduce it, like they said. Prices of everything are going to, they're just going to, oh, you need money? Here, we'll give it to you. It's okay. We can afford it. No, we can't. We can't afford any of this.
No, we can't. Especially when we get the report that just come out. It's just not being real. It's coming out big time now that 30%, not but 30% is actually making it to Ukraine. The other 70% is flowing black market right now through Europe. Not even 30% is going to Ukraine. Guess where it's stopping at? It's landing on the doorsteps of the UN and NATO, and it's going into Europe.
Well, that and the triple letter agencies and their operations over there, of course.
Basically, that's yes.
Which has been on the ground there for
I get to step away
for a second. Like a decade and a
Okay.
half or more. And I have all of the video. I have all kinds of videos over on my Rumble explaining all of this in as much detail as I possibly can over on my Rumble. AmericaShirts. It's in the description. You look it up. AmericaShirts, capital A, capital S, all together, one word. Search it on Rumble. You will find it there. And I have a ton of videos with the Russia-Ukraine stuff, if anybody's interested.
To your
But,
greater, that's a really good point. And we're sending billions to supposedly Ukraine while we leave our actual allies like Japan, Korea, and Taiwan vulnerable. They are left vulnerable. We have never seen the Chinese play this flyover and commit to acts around Taiwan the way that they have as of recently.
yeah, the Chinese angle to all of this is
Vulnerable.
quite interesting, to say the least.
I mean, it's not good considering they made it a really big thing that they landed the satellite on the damn moon, rubbed that in our faces. I mean, we have no idea how long it'll be before satellites actually start dropping out of the sky, ours namely, because they've been hacked. We already know that the Chinese are in the power grid infrastructure. They can hack that at any time. How many hacks have we seen in the past couple of years? We've seen some very major security hacks in the past couple of years. We've had
I
at
mean,
least
General Milley
10.
himself said that, if anything, if the United States does anything militarily or otherwise, he would let the Chinese know about it first.
Right.
So, so we see this Chinese angle here, and of course, the Chinese don't have any money, don't have anything without the IMF, the World Bank, and all these mega corporations with their slave labor camps and all the rest of it. And of course, you're seeing the repercussions of all of this crap hitting the fan globally, especially in China. They're having a giant housing market crash, and their banks are going completely bat crap. And so we're not the only ones facing a lot of crap here. And so the Chinese as well are trying to look for an out to either to not only distract, but to also give an excuse as to, why this is happening. And then, of course, further on with this globalist agenda, in my humble opinion, I think they are instrumental in it. However, they don't want to fully participate in it, but they do. They would love to assist, and at the very least, destabilizing and undermining and taking down the United States as a threat to them. Because the Chinese, as imperialistic as their ambitions are, they're not taking over land necessarily. They're just sort of the property owners, if you will, right? They sort of run it like the globalists kind of do in a way. They kind of, go in with the corporation or with the schools or whatever, and then they'll come in and then they'll set up shop, and then they'll be like, okay, so long as you kind of are okay with us and we're okay with you, and you're not going to place any threat to us, then, well, as long as you give us cheap goods and stuff, well, whatever. Like, as long as our people don't starve. Like, that's kind of their perspective. They're not looking to land to conquer a whole bunch of places. They're looking to just simply control and be the dominant world power, like the United States, and then throw that power around to get what they want out of people. And that's kind of their perspective. So, totally, I mean, they would probably, if they would, put boots on the ground in the United States. But it wouldn't be to completely conquer the whole country because they couldn't control it. What they would want is a government favorable to them. And that's all they're interested in. And then once they get that secured, then the United States is no longer a threat to them. They become a dominant superpower. And the globalist people become the dominant superpower as well in partnership. And then, of course, it would be either a battle between them, or maybe they would just work, together, or these globalist people just simply drop China off like a rock and just watch them collapse because they have full control of their banks. They have, like I said, the huge Chinese labor camps, all of that's run by the mega corporations. They build all the stuff to be shipped over here to the West of the United States and for their own governments to use for their surveillance and so forth, with the technology stuff with Apple, clothing, even, for God's sake, with Nike and different things like this. And so, and Xi Jinping told Trump himself that China barely gets anything. But what they do get, all of that's controlled by the middlemen, and that's these globalist elite people. And so That's the 30,000-foot view there with the whole China deal with that. And so this distraction over there with Russia is just simply to waste America's resources, and of course with Afghanistan as well, to burn out America's military resources, as well as embarrass us, as well as potentially get us dragged into another goddamn war, but also give China access to lithium mines as well, because they want to push for the Green New Deal stuff as well. There's that aspect. So from a global perspective with all of that, the United States' point of view is that we are being militarily degraded, and the Chinese, of course, will take full advantage in every possible way that they can, and that would include possibly Taiwan. And I don't think they'll full-blown bomb Taiwan. I think the strategy that they would probably use is to siege them, because they don't necessarily have to do that. So.
I'm going to also agree with Maniac Man that the opportunistic Russia, for them, that they could actually take advantage of this situation. They would have really loved to have had with Trump in office. They would have really loved to have had a relationship with us. But it seems with this democratic process, they pulled out of the UN when the Biden administration took over. They pulled out of the UN big time. And it seems that we're driving them right into the arms of the Chinese for a happy union of those two. The last thing that they want to do is point weapons at each other. And they'll pull the strings. They'll pull the strings because, literally we're backing either one of them, China or Russia, into a damn corner. This administration is like almost leaving them no choice. And if they cut them off the way that they said that they wanted to through sanctions and such, when you back them into a corner, they have nuclear capabilities. Putin will not hesitate. He's already made that clear, especially through this Ukraine war, that if we interfered, if anybody else interfered at all, he would not hesitate. They can certainly try them on that, which they are. So they've got nothing to lose. They've got nothing to lose. We've watched Russia collapse already. The Soviet Union, the USSR, in 1990. It took 10 years. Russia was so large from 80 to 90. It literally 91, I believe it was, weren't it? It literally took 10 years for it to fucking collapse because it's that big. We're not talking about that on today's scale. We're not talking about that happening in 10 years for us, folks, unless we turn this around or a miracle happens. We've really got to push at it. We've really got to push at it and let our voices be known. The disgust of this administration, that can't be stressed enough. The last thing that we need is for Russia and China to begin to see eye to eye. And that's not a joke.
And I don't even think that Putin himself really, really enjoys China per se.
No, he doesn't want that at all.
But again, as you say, he doesn't really have any other options because nobody else is going to buy the oil. It's going to be China. It's going to be India. There's this BRICS relationship that they're trying to get up. They're trying to get up and running. And of course, that's going to be another scam. And that's the other aspect of this too, is that though Russia was kicked out of the SWIFT system from Europe, they want to create BRICS, which would be Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But that's controlled by the IMF, and that's a whole IMF deal with that as well. And so they're just going the same direction, just underneath a different name, and they'll be controlled after a while with that as well. And so, that's they want to try to go after Russia with Ukraine and the Ukraine war stuff, and then you have Henry Kissinger going, "Oh no, we can't do this," and we got to dial back on this. This isn't working. Let's let them go with this BRICS thing, and then we'll slowly over time collapse them in that way as well, and then be able to make our move. But this thing with Russia on the ground with a war like this is not working. But there are so many that would love to see something like that. And so this is sort of like, again, it's multifaceted. There's all kinds of different chess pieces.
Have a good one.
You got to pay attention to the whole board. We're being very general. We're kind of going over this fairly quickly, I guess. But you got to pay attention to what's going on the whole board. And there's plenty of shows, Steve Bannon's show, Alex Jones' show.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've
all these different
discussed a
things that go
lot in the
over
past 2 hours,
everything in
people.
a lot of details.
Yeah.
So,
and we've thrown a brunt out there in the past 2 hours. It's clearly apparent to see, but the devil is in the details here. The devil is in the details. Seriously.
and I'm going to make more videos on my Rumble channel about specifics and other different things as well. So please subscribe over there to the Rumble and the things that I do over there and the activities that go on with that channel over there. And I'm going to be posting more and doing more on that side myself.
Ish,
explaining
to
things and
answer
doing
your
things. So-
question, only those that have been paying attention. That's the simple answer for you. Only those that have been
Right.
paying attention realize that
Right.
this has been going on for years.
For years.
This isn't
Yeah,
something new.
she
This
knows
has
quite
been
a
going
lot.
on for a while.
They
and
have
nobody paid
persevered.
attention
With
to
her.
it for
She
the
knows-
longest
she
time
knows a
because
lot.
everybody's just so complacent with themselves and everything was just fine, to realize finally that things just were never actually all that good.
That's right. Forever.
It's
National
just-
IDs.
They started way back at the N11 stuff. And yes, exactly. They started even before that. Even they've been doing this forever, trying to actually infiltrate civilian life and push laws and regulations at them to actually make it harder for us to live, and making us pay more money for everything that we do.
Good night, Miss Dinga Dinga.
Good night,
Oh,
Miss
yeah.
Dinga.
Night.
Don't forget to hit that like button for me and subscribe if you hadn't already. Thank you.
Yes,
Wow.
basically that's absolutely right, Barbara. That Trump, because of Trump, they literally pushed the gas pedal like to the floor.
No.
Literally. So, you know.
So see the full perspective of all this, people, and understand what's going on and push back politically, socially, morally, religiously, economically, push back every way. Yep, the boiling frog.
And it is 2:30 here. Anybody that does need to go, get you some rest. I know tomorrow's Monday. It's fresh week, and I'm looking at corporations. I got family that working in these corporations. Campbell Soup is fixing to take a big hit. Several others. This is not a joke. I mean, we're months out. We're months out. It's going to take a few months. I mean, we do have time, but the last thing, I can't stress this enough. The last thing that this Democratic administration really wants to do is see another election cycle. They're doing everything they can to piss everything off, to push it to a martial law state of terror, literally, to gaslight the people, to flare up everything, to make people want to act out. They want to raise the red flags. They want to raise the red alarms. The last thing that they want is to be pushed out by election.
Anything and everything, yeah.
They can't have that. So you're looking at the gas pedal being pushed big time.
And so you all have to put up resistance to this. We all have to put up resistance to this. And we all have to, again, be aware of what this is, be aware of what they're doing, so that when they pull the stops, we know it's bullcrap, and stand up and say no to it. And if everybody does it, and as many people as possible get up and do it, and it, again, from the way that things are looking politically and socially, we are winning, and we got to keep pushing back. But there is going to be a lot of crap that we're going to go through because of this. But if we can get good people in November, and if we can get this strategy in, like I've been talking about, and Steve Bannon's referenced this as well, he's talked about it some, is like we got to get we got to get good people in the House of Representatives. We've got to get all these good based MAGA people in there, and MAGA is winning across the board.
Yep.
Across the board.
Yep.
And we got to get these people in
So-
there, and we can reverse a
Right.
lot of this. And if we
Maniac
can
man,
impeach
I
Joe
see
Biden,
you. I see your
we can
comment,
get a lot done.
and I agree. I agree 1,000 times over.
I do
The thing
too.
is we just can't actually speak of it the way we wish we could,
Right.
and that's why that I agree with you.
And Trump made that
something may
statement. What
happen.
he's saying. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, you're fine.
But I mean,
just-
what Trump was
I'm
saying
agreeing.
greatly is they want the taking it by force. Yes, it'd be great. We can make a mass movement towards the Capitol or towards DC or wherever you want to do, but
Dude.
we've got to do that the right way. Like Trump said, you can't fall into
we
the
can't.
trap that
We
they
can't
want.
do that at all. There's nothing we can do to do that. Just saying.
Right. Not by force, literally that way, but by speech. And that's going to hurt them the most because they want us to fall into that trap, is exactly what Trump was pointing out.
You got to do it the Dutch way. You got to do it the MLK way. You got to do it. You got to do it
Right.
that way. You got to win. That's how we win.
Right. Exactly.
That's what I
With
meant by
that
make
way.
a mass push towards them
That's how
that
we
way,
get
is to take the
everybody else to
protest
wake up and get
to
on our
them.
side with this.
Not just by force, literally, but I
Because
mean,
they want us to go after each other. Our brainwashed libtard neighbors are not the problem here. Not necessarily. I mean, they are a part of the problem, but they're not the source of the problem. Because they'll just, you're not going to solve the problem by attacking them or going after them or whatever. Like, that's not going to do anything. What's going to do something is if we all recognize where this is coming from. It's the global elite. It's the establishment in Washington. It's all of these kinds of people. It's the globalist type people. It's the establishment people. It's the deep state people. It's the WEF.
Right.
It's the UN. And you got to recognize that, and you got to push back on it with that perspective in mind. And
you've
saying
got-
that out loud, and you got to do
you've
it.
got to think about it from this point of view. As much as they would like for us to fight and fight each other, as much as they would like for us to fight and come at them that way,
That's going to only make it
you
win
are
for
not
them. It's
right.
not going to be a win for us. It's going to be a win for
You're
them.
not going to see them on the Parliament floor and on Congress floor take to fighting like it should be. They're not going to fight each other in that atmosphere, and they should. We should see them take to the floor and go to fighting, literally, over our freedoms or rights based on the Constitution. That's the way it should be. You're not going to see them do that.
So real quick, Mim Z, I see your comment as well. About the martial law. We can't really hit on some of that statement that you made, but at the same time, yeah, absolutely. What are they up to? What's coming next? Because we just don't know. We have no clue what's coming next. There's another one from Maniac Man that's being held.
Right.
And again, it's multiple
Who's
vector.
accepting this thing? You guys got to pay attention to what you're accepting, because I can't accept some of these. Seriously.
And you're right, Barbara. You're right. That's true.
You got to take the idiots out of the equation, and the wokies fall into the brainwashing. It's really something. It really is.
What we've really got to do is draw our states out as they become red, as people are waking up. We need to make sure that we are politically aligning with each other in our states, that we are the same way that they've got the media set up as Operation Mockingbird. They all start sounding the damn same in times of a great government push. The people's voice needs to be that same way, not all of us on different pages. That's confusion. We all need to be on the same page. We all need to be on the same page. That's not a joke. I made that statement the first night that they allowed me to come on here and talk with y'all and talk with us. That we're not politically aligned. We all disagree way too much. We can't make up our minds. Everybody wants more choices than what we can afford. We need to agree together.
Maniac Man says, I found plenty of Republican and Libertarian allies in my town, despite the fact that we live in a blue state. And again, I've looked at plenty of maps. There is no such thing as a blue state. there's only blue cities that just so happen to dominate that state and turn them what they call blue.
Right. Right. That's
In
exactly
every
what's
single
happened to
But maybe
Virginia.
every
he's
single
finding out
state
he's
that you
not
look
alone.
at. You
We're not
look at
alone in this.
every county, and that not single state is completely, totally, straight up blue.
Blue. Right. It's the major cities.
Exactly.
But you
When
see,
you
in
have a
Washington
city
State,
like Boston
and that's my
in
Rumble video.
Massachusetts,
This is what my
that's
Rumble
what's going
video
to
is all
control
about.
that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what my Rumble video is all about. Is like looking at Washington State and that congressional run and seeing that thing that's going on there. Go over there and watch that, ladies and gentlemen. I go into a lot of this, not in Massachusetts per se, but from the Washington State, which
Another
again,
whole-
it's a supposedly blue state, but not really. You know, in that same kind of fashion.
Right. And another hard thing about that, we're seeing a mass push of people leaving out of these so-called democratic strongholds and places of the big democratic cities. They're moving to other states. You don't necessarily have to do that, but definitely get out of the blue city. You can move out into the areas away from the blue city and don't allow the blue city to be blue anymore. Vote red with the rest of the state. You know, I mean, just get out of those cities that's been absolutely destroyed by Democratic agenda. And that's not a joke. You don't have to leave your state just because they say they're all blue states. We see a lot of people leaving the states that they're in. Move out of those cities. Make other cities populate the same way that we as content creators, you're seeing them all now want to jump around to other content creators and help them out, throw a few bucks their way. Do that to your small local cities outside of the big cities. Move into those areas and populate those areas and vote with them. Vote red. That's not a joke. You don't have to leave your state. Leave that city. Move into another city that doesn't line up with that. That's the only way to shut down those big cities, whether they like that or not. We don't need those big cities. We can build everywhere else.
100%.
There's a lot of, there's a lot of room in our places. Just people aren't, they're pushing the exact way that they want you to go. Don't let them.
Yeah, keep pushing back, and people are doing it, and we're winning. And so don't get discouraged. This is not a black pill. You got to understand what's going on. You got to keep pushing back, and we're going to win. And we are winning. And we're winning across the board.
If we cut off those major cities from voting the way that they want it to be voted, and actually branch out into the other cities in that particular state and vote aligning with red, those populations that you find in smaller cities, that'd help them out big time. That helps them out big time.
Yep. So, and I talk about a lot of this on my new Rumble video over there. It's called Election Update for Washington State, Congressional District 3. Go over there and watch that. I think it's going to be worth your time to look at. And again, share it with other people. Tell other people about it. Get the word out. We're not alone. I'm not saying that I'm the only person that's talking about this. I'm just another voice. But the more of us talk about it, the more of us get it out, the more people wake up and the more people understand what's going on and how to fight back, and that we are fighting back and that we're winning. So
that's exactly right, Barbara. That's a really good statement. That was read on the floor of Congress on a 2A debate, August 17th, 1789. This is why they're pushing what they are. I mean,
yes,
we can
exactly do what Gene said. Everybody like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Do all of those things.
Yep, do it here, do it with Rumble, do it with locals.
Hit up
everything. Got to go everywhere. You got to
Check 'em all
diversify
out.
people. Hit them all up. Because that's how we win too, is with multiple platforms, so they can't shut us down. And that's the thing.
That's right, Forever.
You doing okay, Toy Box?
St. Louis is
that
a big blue
fever
city.
or something else going on there, buddy?
Oh, you're sweating tonight.
Hey, Maniac Man, there you go. There you go. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Don't get discouraged. Keep
that's
pushing
the
back.
problem right there. Look at Barber's. I can't even reach my congressman by phone. He wants texts.
Do whatever.
Right? If he wants a text, send a text. Send him 10 of them. Send him 15 of them. Send him the same one over and over again and spam the crap out of it so that he actually sees that you are actually interested in what is happening and you want him to actually understand how you feel.
Impeach Joe Biden and then Kamala Harris after him. We've got to do this. Biden has so many of these God be damned executive orders doing half of this crap. He could, again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Joe Biden with his administration, I'm not saying that he is, this evil mastermind per se. He's a dumbass, he's a puppet, but because of what he has signed in these executive orders, being the president, obviously, right? He could snap with a snap of his finger, and 50% of this could be rolled back. Now we'd still face a lot of crap, but there would still be a depression, but a lot of it would not be as hard, and a lot of it would not be as bad, and there would be a much easier road to recovery, a lot easier road to recovery after it, than would be if we just let this continue. You've got to call your congressmen, call your senators, and tell them that infrastructure security, food security is national security. Infrastructure security is national security. Electric grid security is national security. Border security is national security. Joe Biden has failed on all of those responsibilities as the president of the United States in the executive branch. He needs to be impeached, and so does Kamala Harris. Both of them gone. You get based Republicans in the Congress, and you get a good, solid guy like, say, a Jim Jordan or whoever in as the Speaker of the House.
Come
and
November,
then he would take over
when
as the
everything
president.
goes the way we're hoping
Once
it is.
those things go.
We
And
need
that
to
should be the strategy to think of.
Seriously institute term limits on everybody on that House and the Senate. I'm sick of these guys that have been there for 60 years running roughshod, thinking that they're cool and they can pass whatever they want to pass. It's ridiculous. We need to actually, they're not working for us right now. Obviously, we've seen that. Everything that we covered in the beginning of the show, we've seen what they're wanting and just doing without actually helping any of us. None of it helps us. I don't see how anybody can actually say, "Oh, no, that's a good thing." Somebody in this 31 people that are here can actually say, "Oh, that's a good thing," and give me a reason why it's a good thing. I'll hear you out, but I doubt you can do it. I really
But first
doubt
we got to get rid of Joe Biden. We got to stop this stuff that's going on here.
Well,
priorities.
But
I'm not saying
everybody,
I'm not saying it's
right. It's everybody.
It's not something that
And
we need
tell
to
all
do
your
something.
family, tell all your friends, tell all your people that like what Forever saying, the blue aren't listening. You can't reach out to them. You can't discourage them. They're not taking calls. Reach out to the red ones that are taking calls. We can't afford to let one. I mean, Trey Gowdy is one of my favorite dudes. That guy's awesome. But we've watched him walk away from it. He's running an awesome show now. He's got an awesome show and program, but he's no longer in the fight there. He walked away from it. We can't allow them to walk away from it because we're not helping them, because we're not calling, because we're not doing. We've got to do it. We've got to do it. We can't allow the good ones to get away, or else there'll be nobody there fighting. They'll just comply.
And again, some people say, like, oh, well, like that comment before, right? It was like, oh, well, they only accept texts, or they only or they'll shut off the phone or whatever. If they get a crap ton of phone calls to the point that they have to shut off the phone, all that is just pressure building. That's all that is. If you just keep going with it, and if everybody keeps doing it, they'll know they'll get the calls. They just won't answer it, right? And so it's just this pressure and pressure and pressure. It's like a freaking, it's like a pipe that's about ready to burst, and it's going to burst all over them. and it's going to blow them the hell out of the place. I mean, they have to listen at some point, or else they're going to get blown out. And that's what they know. And if there's this massive push, there's going to be all this pressure on them, and they're going to feel that every time they go around and everywhere they walk and everything they do. They're going to feel that pressure of like, holy shit. Every one of like 150% of my constituency is up in arms at me for even thinking about doing something the opposite way. I mean, for example, here, Ted Cruz went on to say stuff about the Jan 6 people and called them like, said like, it was a riot, it was bad, they were bad, and kind of implied that. And Tucker Carlson brought him onto his show and lit him on fire. And after that, Ted Cruz went full ham mode. Within like 3 days, he went full ham mode in the opposite direction. Like, I mean, some of these people aren't that horrifically evil or bad. They just feel the pressure from the opposite side, and sometimes they cave to it. But if they feel pressure from the right side of the aisle, they'll gladly go some of them will gladly go the opposite direction. Some of them might be a little bit more reluctant, but eventually they will if they'll feel that kind of pressure. Now, again, obviously the strategy with the MAGA people, right? Hopefully we don't have to get to that point where it would be that kind of pressure. These MAGA people are listening to us. They're responsive, and that's why they're winning, and that's why they're moving forward. A lot of these people, like, well, I won't get into the specifics because I talk about a lot of this in my video, but we're winning across the board. These MAGA people are receptive to us, and we got to use that, and we got to, call into them, tell them what we want done at rallies, at protests, at whatever, and we got to make our voices heard so they know what to expect and they know what we want from them. And we have to make sure that they understand that, and that Joe Biden needs to be impeached now. Period. Full stop. Him, and then Kamala Harris, and then anybody else.
And I know earlier I came on cam and I flashed my Bible and my other. And I know that the book takes longer through perseverance, but it's the surest way. We don't want it to turn into the mess that we know it potentially could. Family, friends, loved ones. That's not a joke, because they've already witnessed and seen. I mean, we watched them, the January 6ers, we watched them disarm the National Guard that they actually brought in. That was a big fucking joke, people. They actually did bring in the National Guard, set up everything around that, set up fencing all the way around that, and then they made the National Guard stand by there disarmed and did nothing. We watched men pile up into literally packed them in garages. They were struggling. They didn't like that a bit. They already see what's going to happen militarily if they don't.
Kath, how's it going?
I mean,
I see you made it in chat. She's been having issues the last few nights, and I forgot to do something for her today and actually send her instructions on how to actually get there. Looks like she figured it out.
I think I did see y'all in there earlier.
So
this morning.
Yeah,
actually,
early this morning.
Yeah, this morning. Yeah, like I said, I had just got up
after last night's show. Yeah, we talked for like good 45 minutes or whatever. So here, Barbara Vance says, I was going to say, then we were stuck with Kamala and Pelosi.
Yeah, people get that out of your heads. That's not what we're doing. That's not the strategy.
No, that's what we need. We need to actually wait until November actually happens, and the Speaker of the House gets reelected, and not her. Then things can kind of maybe happen or whatever.
Oh no, we need to get the ball rolling now, because it's going to take it's going to take some effort to get the ball rolling.
Exactly, but we don't want it to actually be too fast. Slowly roll that for the next 3 months.
Well, hell, if it'll go fast, we'll go. Let's go with it. Damn, I mean, if it's going to go that fast, if they're going to go for her or they're going to go for Biden, let's go for her too, right? But I mean, if they're going to go that far, but they don't want an impeachment because then it'll expose everything. They want to get rid of Biden their way.
I've got to agree, because they're going for broke and they're breaking us. We need to go for broke. We need to go for broke. I mean, I
Yeah, we
want
gotta
to
go
wait
for it.
on November, but we've got to go for broke
But
because we
Okay.
are. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
Talk over me.
and again, because it's going to take a bit to get this ball up and rolling and get this
Oh.
going and get the momentum moving within the House of Representatives itself. That's why it needs to be started
Thank you,
now.
Roma.
Because
Thank you so much.
we all kind of know that it's not really going to get across the finish line right now with the House of Representatives that we're given. But when the MAGA people come in November with that ball already rolling, they'll just pick that right up and they'll just go for it right after they get in. I mean, that's what we got to go for that. We got a ton of good MAGA people in there now, but we don't have enough. But we'll get a good majority of them in. They'll all pick up the ball and they'll go for it.
Right.
Once
And
we get
because
it going, once we get this rolling, once we get this moving and this momentum going within the House of Representatives itself, all those good people will come in, and then a good portion in the Senate, and we can get this moving and we can get this pushed through, and we can expose all of this on the House floor itself.
and
really
by
push this
power
and
of
really get this done.
ourselves say, by the power of ourselves say, you all are magistrate by right. That requires your voice. That's why, not just that we're wondering if our votes count. I mean, we can break the damn machines. We've seen that. They fussed about that when Trump was elected. They made that in 2016. The Democrats were all about that, talking about it weren't right. I mean, we can break the damn machines. They hated us for that. That can happen again. But the point is it takes your power as a magistrate of your state, your community. You are a magistrate. People don't understand the power that they have because they've been taught down, not taught up. And they've talked us to damn death. We've talked about it and talked about it and talked about it until it's been talked to death. We need to bring life out of it. You are magistrates by right. The power is in our say. The power is in our vote. The power is in our say. That matters. Or else we wouldn't be here talking now. So
the government is trying to say, look, we gave you money when you needed it. So look what we'll do for you when you need us. And that's the one of the most dangerous statements ever made is we're from the government and we're here to help.
And I agree with that, Gene.
Ronald Reagan said it the best. So when it comes down to it, seriously, we need to actually stop allowing the government to help us.
Right.
It's ruining us.
Yes. Instead, I mean, I'm okay. Just considering it to be government, the best way that I can put it is like this, people. I've known God all of my life. And to me, I've always known that God is love. And the Son of God, Jesus Christ, is truth. And truth has always been God in my life. Truth has always, that's what I've always known as Christ Jesus in that aspect, not to just go religious on everybody. Everybody's heard my mouth rant and rumble. But to be quite honest with you, everybody's got their hand out to God as though he's a welfare line. He's the greatest giver of them all, to give truth to us, to understand that, to understand truth, whether you see that as Jesus Christ or not, or however you see it in your life. But to understand truth has been given into your power. And God is the greatest giver of them all. And he's the least to receive in our time. The only way that we can support the thing we know is truth is to use your voice, use your vote, use your voice, and speak against it. That's the best I can say. That's the best I can do without making a big scene about this government without ranting about it that way.
No, Ephesians says, that pray that the eyes of your enlightening, the eyes of your enlightening be opened, and that you may know to the hope in which He's called you.
Right. I mean, I beg people to read their Bible. I can't make you do it. There's been a Bible, but when I was a little boy, I knew all of my life, and this was from every state, that there was a Bible in every home. There's a Bible in every hotel, in every room. There's a Bible everywhere. I don't care how much dust it collects. We have that for a reason. And it's for your understanding, whether people like it or not, whether they've wanted to avoid it or whatever. But the matter of truth has never been more apparently clear in our lives. They can take over that and be that, and God is not pleased. So take that with a grain of salt, or you can put that out front.
And to show what happens when you push, the Democrats push for the bad angle of this, right? They pushed they got 2 Trump impeachments on total bullshit. We have all the evidence. We have all the text. We got everything. We got the whole 9 yards. We got the paperwork. We got it all. We can do this. And so just to show you,
I was just going to say, I actually worked in a hotel before moving here to South Dakota. That was the last job that I had. And they didn't have in any of the rooms.
They're removing it. The last thing they want people to do is pick it up, read it, or even begin to believe.
You can put that back up, Shirts.
Well, I want to make sure of something really quick. The volume kind of sounds a little low on my end.
I mean, excuse me, I apologize, people. My language can get just as I can get my hair in a nap just as fast as any of you can. I can let my little nappy fly and pull a hair out of my ass real quick and talk like
I'm fixing something here. Hold on.
I can string some words together that would make sailors blush. I don't like to do that, and I prefer not to do that. I like to talk regular. I like to be normal. I like to have my voice and my say on a rhetoric manner that anybody can be pleased with. I don't like to be angry and mad.
Okay, here we
go. To go along with Barbara's, they took God out of the schools for a reason. I'm glad that my daughter is in a school where they actually still say the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. So I mean, there is something. They didn't totally remove God the way that but they did. They removed it so much where they just kind of they're afraid to
keep pushing back.
Teach about anything other than unless you're Muslim, then it's like, oh, they're religious.
Yeah, and so keep pushing back is the theme in that, right? And so the Democrats they go in this opposite direction with a bunch of bullshit. We've got all the evidence, we got all the proof, we got everything we need for impeachment to push back against Joe Biden and his administration. Now, people, you're gonna have to turn up your volume a little bit with this, but this is hysterical. This is an example of this. So
some of them kept their sanity. This guy Kalimnik keeps turning up again and again. Konstantin Kalimnik. He's still Russian military intelligence. Kalimnik, a short man who goes by Kostya. This guy Konstantin Kalimnik. Aluminum smelters. Big aluminum smelters. Giant aluminum smelters. He started sleeping at his smelters. Sabotage in his smelters. Came to his smelters. Very brutal start, right? Sleeping in the smelters. The next person who would be criminally charged in the Robert Mueller Special Counsel investigation bingo game. Did you have a square marked Alex Vanderswan? Alex Vanderswan? Chromium. Atomic number 24. The brother of the guy who's got the chromium plant. The guy who's the brother of the chromium plant. Chromium plant in Kazakhstan. Next time you see something chrome plated, take a deep breath, cough it out, and think of the Trump Soho. Big story. Tick, 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 tick. Boom. Started ticking again. Tick, 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 tick. 4 hours later. Boom. Boom. You're stressing me out. He starts tick, 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 boom. Goes off twice. First boom, tick, 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 boom, tick, 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 and second boom. Bombshell guy who ticks, tick, 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 boom, boom again. Tick, 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 the boom. Tick, 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 tick. Ahead of time, ahead of the scoop, and then boom.
Tick, 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 boom. I'm with
Oh my
Martin Bella. Goodfield is so funny. I love that guy. He's one of the
tick, 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 boom. Tick, 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 and then boom. I mean, like, this is the level of bullshit, right? It's like, if they can sit there and just go tick, 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 boom, and like they can get whatever, like, hell, people, if we put up enough resistance to this crap, I mean, God, let's do this. They did this with bullshit. We can do this with the actual facts.
Hey, Maniac Man, you're not alone there, bud. When I start talking about these things, I try my best to watch my mouth at it. I said it on stream the other night. I can go for days and days and days and days and weeks and months. I know how to control my mouth and my manner. No, God is not pleased when I use because I can be rather sharp. I can piss somebody off so fast you have no idea. And just the manner of my tone, my voice, if anybody's can you hear my voice? Would you understand me cussing you out? Would you understand me actually crawling down your throat, somebody's throat in a rant or getting on? I mean, that's something that I can do. I was trained also. Not just, but somebody mentioned about you mentioned that your husband was a merchant marine. I was a family. Me and my brothers were a family of them. My service is not something that I can talk about really. I don't know what anybody knows about them, about the military and that status. Okay, but there's only one way that you get out of it. We have the biggest problem right now with the veterans and the 90% of those that come that are homeless or that commit to cancel themselves, if I can say it that way, is because when they come out, friends and family, let me tell you, if you don't know this, when you come out, you have to sign that damn paper that says you are fit for civilian life, to return to civilian life again. If you don't sign that paper, you cannot come out. They will commit you to therapy, whatever, through the military. You cannot come out unless you sign that waiver of paper. And then you're committed. It's committed to your trust that they can't speak about certain things. That's why they end up on the streets or canceling themselves, because it's hard to talk about it without landing your ass back in the brig. That's not a joke. That's why they're in that condition. That's why they can't receive help. And they need every bit of their family to help them in those situations. And people turn their back on them. We can't let that happen. Yes, I said in the stream the other night, I have taken care of men myself, put them under my trust, not only to look out for them, but even after they come back. I've been there myself. It's not something that I like to talk about. I don't give a shit about the military. I care about the men, and I don't honor the military. I honor the men and women. I respect the men and women of it. There's a big difference there in the two things: the people that serve versus versus the military itself. Now, unless they sign that paper that says that they are fit to return to civilian life, they don't. They're not allowed to come out. And if they want to come out, they better act like it's okay. And then they come out and all the PTSD, everything comes up then after a few years of being out. And they struggle with that without being able to talk to family members. And what they need, when I picked up drunks, military men. I've picked up friends and put them on a couch somewhere so that they could sleep it off. And all it takes is just to understand, not anybody's mouth of what they should be doing or what they're not doing or how they could put their life. They don't need that from you. They're very capable themselves and smart. That's how they made it through the military. What they need is somebody to rely on. They need a helping hand. They don't have that. I'm glad to see that, you know, we could get some military people some help, but that's not something that they can actually ask for. It takes people like people to actually help them and just understand, so that they don't have to put their ass in the brig because they've talked about everything that happened or what they think they know. That's not a joke. I mean, I could cry over our military vets.
I watched this video that Barbara's speaking of. I seen that young lady actually say that she refused to do so, and she was still going to still do what she had been doing. I seriously believe that she should lose her position, her job, her whatever you want to call it, her duty, and be put back into civilian life, and removed from her post forever. Never be allowed to go back. I don't care who you are. That's what you were actually brought in there to defend, was just that, the Constitution.
We talk about my home life here. These guys allowed me space to be able to speak with y'all and with them because of things that I've said in the chat. And I like these guys. I wouldn't dare bring up some past thoughts, some past memories, some past things that went on. I talk about my life in the world. I can talk about my work. I can talk about things that I do. But listen, when it comes to those military guys out there that become bums, that become street bound, that can't get no help, it's because of that paper that they signed, and the military is not liable for them no more. I've had people reach out to me. I've had to go get people and help them through hard situations. That's not a joke. I beg people to try and help someone.
Yep, these people are ridiculous. And I agree with Maniac. Exactly. If you don't obey that oath, you don't get to claim veteran status. She should be, released immediately from all duties.
That topic there, Mr. Voice, is something that probably deserves an entire hour or more unto itself.
Yeah,
for
it really does
veterans
deserve its own.
Oh my God, I could
about
I could
what
cry.
can be done, what could be done, what people can do themselves, things of that nature, like that whole topic of the veterans.
It needs a whole. It could be a show by itself.
Right.
I mean, I could tell you a lot about that people don't even realize, and all they need is our help. Civilian life, coming back to civilian life, they need you, their family. Nobody to turn their back on.
So late at night, I'd try getting you in here with like Grimm or something, because I know the both of you really would have an interesting conversation about such things.
Yeah, that would probably be a good conversation about that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If I could ever get Grimm to actually be rested enough to actually come in here and join us for an actual, night, whatever, it'd be great.
Barbara Vance.
I'd totally get that going if I could.
I see that the VA hospital in Phoenix is the reason I lost my stepfather at 49, and her mom is 52. They're falling like you wouldn't believe. We're losing vets like you wouldn't believe. So many of them commit to cancel.
That's the word that was slipping my mind. Dishonorably discharged. Exactly.
Yes, I know there's a lot of them, but seriously, that's not a joke. They can't talk about that. Many of them do, and it puts them in a lot of trouble. They can't talk about that, even though when you go into the military, you sign away many of your rights. They own your fucking ass. When you come out, if you can't sign that paper that says you are mentally fit, debrief, you're mentally fit to continue in civilian life, you do not get out. They don't, regular common life people don't know that shit. They think they've been military. Oh, they ought to be tough. They ought to be able to hack it out. You have no fucking, excuse me. You really have no idea. You really have no idea what some of those men go through, especially if they've been overseas or been on some of those trips, had some hard time in service. You watch one on Fox News every night that sits there with legs blown off. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll back off of that. It could deserve a show by itself. I'm not saying that we'll even get to touch on that. It's a hard subject to touch for some people because it actually does bring up emotional understandings. But really, that's all those people need. They need you to understand. They need you to be there for them, to not question them, to not beat them down with your mouth. Just understand. Just understand and help them.
I'm with you, Ish. I don't watch Fox either. Tucker Carlson is about as far as I go, and then Gutfield every once in a while, just because he's funny. Anything else? No, not gonna watch fake news. Just saying, they're just as fake. It's just paid opposition in my mind.
Yeah, I watch them all anyway. Just not all the time like that, but I pay attention. And most people that know what's going on, they pay attention, whether they want to hear it or not. And I apologize for my manner. Not for what I would say, but for my manner, because I could act a little bit better towards it and have better say about it than to run my mouth at people over this live stream. I know that a lot of people know they have family.
Welcome back, Kicker Death.
There's a lot of people that don't know anything about it, though.
And see, I think that's another aspect of the whole idea of building from the ground up and building from the community up, and not relying upon the government or some mega corporation or some big, huge, pharmaceutical corporation or whatever to give you a drug or something like that. Like, you need to work with the people on the ground in your own community and build from the ground up. And that's what will make America strong, is from the ground up with everyone involved. That includes veterans and everything. And you got to build from the ground up. That's sort of, I guess, sort of to encapsulate what we were talking about earlier, and even this, like that whole perspective of everybody from the ground up. You got to bring in churches. You got to bring in people from the community, other good groups and organizations, and you got other local businesses and so forth. And you've got to build from the ground up in this country. We cannot rely upon the government and all the rest of these people and mega corporations and big pharma and all these, even these big therapist people that have these therapist branches and do this stuff. We got to rely. We got to do this ourselves. We've got to help each other out. We can't just isolate ourselves on our social media or on some other different thing. Social media is a tool, but we cannot isolate ourselves. We've got to get involved, and we've got to build up our communities as best as we can. And if each and every one of us do that through the church, through other means, through just our own charity to others, through businesses doing things as well, small businesses, local businesses, whatever, local groups, and so forth, get the ball rolling and build from the ground up. And that's what will make America strong again. And that's what will make people in our own communities feel secure and feel strong again, as well. is that they
My-
won't feel isolated. You know, you won't feel isolated. No one will.
I see a couple new people come in the room. Don't forget to hit that like button for me.
That's the goal.
Y'all,
So-
I got two of my uncles served in Vietnam. I know all of those stories. I've talked to them. My oldest brother is 12 years older than almost 13 years older than me. I was young. He inspired me. He went ahead of me. Of course he did. He's 12 years older than me. But my brother went to the Battle of Saudi Arabia, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And from there to North Korea, the Battle of North Korea. You have no idea what that was like. People don't know what goes on in those situations, in those things. We hear about it barely. I can tell you things that would curl your stomach about North Korea and about Korea. It would curl your stomach to know the conditions there. And that's not a joke. That's not a joke. The things that have went on. I mean, and we disregard a lot of people. They just look over our vets. They look over things, and you know, I'm gonna stop there with that. But we need. I mean, understanding is needed. We have a strong lack of austerity in our country right now.
Drugs isn't going to fix it. Throwing someone on drugs isn't going to fix anything. We got to do this with each other. We have to help each other out.
Sorry to whoever decided to unsubscribe to me. If you did that, make sure you go back and resubscribe. If you did that by accident, just saying.
I'm not saying that to you, Mr. Voice. I'm just saying that in general to the audience.
No, you're fine.
So.
Yeah, I'm
that whole thing, yes, that could have a whole.
I apologize.
Show to it.
So,
and we should probably do that at some point.
The military is necessary, but what they are ordered to do and lied about.
Lied to, man.
I mean, anybody can certainly not appreciate the fact that I said I don't honor our military. I respect and love and cherish the men and women of it that commit their time to service, to duty. Love them. I do. What the military's become, the branches themselves, I have no respect for. That's coming from one. I don't want to hear it. Anybody can certainly not appreciate that, but they could do better. They could definitely do better. You all know that.
Ishcade wants to know, when can we hit join?
Depends on what you're actually going to speak of, and if you can actually.
Oh, she means that.
That's. I believe that she
thought
actually
meant
wants to
for
try
join the channel, because there's the join for the channel, but nothing. This wasn't it.
Or maybe she is. I don't know.
Well, I have to watch a lot of what I say.
No, right, people, exactly. Everybody needs to watch
a lot of what you say.
Right.
Because you could yeet the channel, it could stop it right now.
Right. Totally just squash me immediately, and then I have nothing.
I could say one paragraph and shut the stream down.
I need 1,000 subscribers. 4,000 watch hours. I'm assuming watch hours isn't going to be that hard to get at. It's the 1,000 subscribers. And like I said, I just lost another 2. Whoever that was, you need to go hit that subscribe button again for me. I think you bumped it on accident and unsubscribed yourself. I could be wrong, but if that's the case, check it. Make sure that you're still subscribed. Make sure everything's still good. And while you're sitting there looking at it, hit that like button for me. It looked like I have 49 likes right now. One more to get to 50. That's awesome. People actually liked what we were actually talking about. So, for the watch hours.
Yeah, for the channel. Dang, I'm sure you're close for the watch hours.
Yeah, the watch hours I'm not going to have a problem with. It's getting to that 1,000 subscribers.
Because we do get now regularly like 20, anywhere between 20 and 30 people that'll watch almost the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
I think once a week he does open up the channel for anybody that can mind their manner and things to be said,
Awesome,
to not talk about certain
Good to see.
things.
We're
I
in
think
a
he does
cultural
open a
war,
channel
people. You got to use code, you know.
where people can come in and talk if you want to. That's up to him. Don't pry and push. But yeah, I think he does make that available. That was the Saturday night panel. So, you know, it's up to him, but you can't be hard on him if he's going to keep his channel.
Koolfrogg says, I just meant that often our men and women are fighting for some made up cause, like Voice says. I have the utmost respect for the persons in military, not the institution itself. Yeah, exactly. It's you know, certain specific individuals that are in there, like the lady that actually said that she's, you know, because of the way, you know, that she's totally against everything that she's actually there for. So I mean, that's wrong. That's totally wrong, and that person should be discharged immediately.
Debbie says, sometimes I feel like I need a YouTube dictionary.
Yeah,
well,
right.
That's not a joke.
We might have to make that.
That's not a joke. I've said so many things without saying the actual thing. Because if I, like I said, I could talk, I could say a paragraph, and everything stopped right now.
If y'all seen me stop a show for somebody saying something in particular, and just, you know, stop it right there, yeet it from YouTube, and you know, it's sitting on Rumble only. So there's episodes that are missing. So if you actually look through and you actually see that they're all numbered, after a while anyway, and you see, oh, it jumps from 145 to 147. You know, what happened to 146? Oh no, that's where it is. It's on Rumble.
And I mean,
somebody
it's
said
the whole
something,
point.
we said something, we did something, and we just can't.
But it's the whole point. Like I said the other night, folks, it's not that it's something that we can't really talk about. But hey, I'm past a lot.
That clip from George Carlin the other day.
Yeah.
Yeeted. I had to take it off of the YouTube side to take care of the whatever, the copyright.
But listen, like, I live in civilian life. I've went by, I work. I want to keep doing the things that I do. They could stop me at any time. I want to talk about the things that I do now and the things that I've been doing. I'm an
Maniac
excellent
Man on
welder.
that one. You know, the thought occurred to me. There are people who call themselves veterans. Why are they lowering their expectations? I watched a Navy basic training video. It jumped on me. It jumped. You know, I thought it occurred to me. There are people who call themselves veterans, but are perfectly okay with the gun control. I think they need to be dishonorably discharged. Yeah, I mean, if you're, I don't get how you could actually be a veteran and you see the things that you've seen, done the things that you've done, and then turn around and say, yeah, gun control is a good thing. So
I said
what?
some years ago, and we'll go. It's 3:30. I don't know. Whenever you get tired of this, whenever you're ready to stop.
It's only 1:30 in the morning for me.
Okay.
We're not talking about you, Koolfrogg. We're talking about everyone.
Yeah, we're talking about everyone else too. But I sat down a few years ago, and there's not many of them left. People, family, friend. There's not many of them left. The World War II vets and Vietnam vets, they're falling off. You know, canceling out, checking out. One old age or one way or another. But I sat down a few years ago and I interviewed a World War II vet. It's been quite a few years ago. When I sat down with him and I started talking about it, I pulled out a pen and paper and put it down on the table. And the first thing the man done was he uncrossed his leg and he reached in his pocket and he pulled out a 357 and put it on the desk. When I threw the pen and paper in the trash can, he pushed it to the side and we were able to talk. I've never seen anybody that would open up to someone like me. I was a little bit, just a little bit younger, but the point is to open up to a complete and total stranger and talk to me about things that they couldn't even talk to their family about. I talked to a World War II vet that had more cancellations under his belt, men that he stopped from living. And I mean a lot of them. And that man had to lay down and sleep with that at night, every night. And he had been living with that a long time, the dread on his face. And he told me that the way he imagined God in the world, this was his say, the way that he imagined God in the world was as though an assassin for a mob boss.
Good night, Bart and Bella.
It's something that there was no pictures of, something that you never seen, never knew, and you didn't see it coming. And that's the way he felt about God, and he didn't have a very rich attitude towards that because of the things he's seen in his time. The talk that I had with the man, it didn't, I was man enough to take that, but some people that aren't prepared for that would literally, you would need a few days to get over that. I talked with him about 45 minutes. And it was like days of knowledge that I had to take in. That's not a joke. The man barely shed a tear. I could see the water in his eyes. Numb. He could have, no joke, it pulled out a 357 and put on the desk. He could have shot me right there, and I went home and went to sleep and not thought another thing about it. Not that it wouldn't have bothered him, but he had been living with those things so long. Now I'll stop there with that, but you have no idea just how much help you can be to someone if you just reach out and try with understanding, and don't ask too many questions, just try. They're left alone. They're left alone. It's hard.
Cadet says at The Voice, usually the case. I find that my work every day, I'm offline and safe with no connections to their life. All right. So, you guys all right? You ready to go? Ready to kick out of here?
I think so.
All right. So, everybody, make sure you check out AmericaShirtsOurFirst.com.
That is AmericaShirtsOurFirst.com. And you use the discount code Koolfrogg to save 15% on anything in that store. Go grab yourself some t-shirts, people. Push back against these people. Impeach Joe Biden. Get it done. Get it done now. Get out to the Republican primaries. Vote, vote, vote. Get good MAGA-based people in. And let's get this ball rolling in the right direction. And we are winning, so keep it up. And go buy yourself a t-shirt and keep it going.
So, and of course, I'm Koolfrogg. You can check me out at Jesus. I can't even give my own spiel. Ridiculous. So tired right now. It's ridiculous. That's why I'm like, yeah. I'm good to go.
What? It's only 1:30 there.
Yeah, I've been tired all damn day.
What?
So check me out at Rumble. Check me out on Locals. There's links down below. Hit those up if something ever happens here. That's where I'll be. Thank you very much.
MMZ.
Go to
Forever.
buymeacoffee.com/Koolfrogg if you want to assist me immediately.
Barbara.
It's the best place to actually do that right now. I tried setting up a
Memento.
couple of other pay sites, and the pay sites just aren't allowing me to sign out.
Jules.
So that being said, please support me there. Please go to
JMK.
buymeacoffee.com. Mr. Voice, last thoughts before you leave.
Last thoughts.
Your last thought before we leave. Anything you'd like to share?
Well, if I could share anything, I mean, life and death are in the power of the tongue. Speak right to somebody, thank somebody, love somebody, even when it's hardest. I mean, it's hard right now to share something decent, but be kind. Be kind, even to these leftist assholes, even to this administration that we let's go Brandon to death. That's cliche for me to say that, in a sense. We're doing our best to get rid of them. Yes, but that even has to come from a compassionate point of view. That even has to come from a compassionate point of view. So we wouldn't push at you to actually speak up, actually no longer be the silent majority that they've always claimed us to be. I've never come out of my shell. I'm in my shell. I'm in my person. People talk about coming out of their shell. No, I mean, keep your person, keep your faith, keep your wits, keep hope, love each other. I mean, what else do we have? Use your voice, use your words. I thank each and every one of you. I pray if I can pray pray for someone, whether you think you believe in it or not. I don't expect God to forgive me. I ask. It's up to him to do that. But really, I ask. If I can ask, you can too. And that's whether you like it or not. The truth is there for you daily. Whether you like it or not, the least you could do is speak up for him. The truth is a real thing. So, with that said.
Later, everybody.
Later, peeps.